The next day, Mahjong sits in his office and thinks back to what happened before. He remembers yelling at a man and telling him that if they win against Manchester, then he should think again about partnering with them. In that moment, the man looks at Mahjong and smiles, explaining he agrees to work together but says the terms need a small change. The man then explains that Mahjong does not need to beat Manchester New, and that it does not matter how good he is as a coach, because with the current Bolton squad, winning clearly is almost impossible. Instead, he says that Mahjong should promise to hurt Manchester's image and leave a bad mark on them, and that this will be the condition of their partnership. Later on, the team plays soccer on the field, and while watching two players compete, the coach starts to wonder what was discussed during the meeting, since Mahjong is not telling him anything at all. He also notices that along with the newly organized schedule, the training this time is twice as hard and far more demanding than before. As he looks down at the list, he thinks to himself that these tactics are also unbelievably intense. He even wonders if Mahjong wants to get himself killed by pushing things this far, almost like facing the devil directly. Meanwhile, the players are completely worn out, and one of them finally drops to his knees, saying that he cannot continue anymore. The guy takes his frustration out, asking how many days it has been now, as it's just a preseason friendly match, so why are they even training like this? One of the guys on the team looks around and realizes that they are probably hitting their limit right now, and he even thinks to himself that this whole thing is getting really tiring, especially since it is still very early in the preseason period, so he does not understand why they are training so harshly like this. After that moment, Mahjong tells them that he knows that high-intensity training just to get ready for a friendly match is not very motivating for anyone, but he wants them to know that this is all being done for them and their own good. He explains to them that it might not show results that are effective right away or immediately, but he can promise all of them that if they choose to believe in him and follow what he teaches them, their value as players will definitely go up and increase over time. After that, Mahjong then starts running again because he still has 5 more laps that he needs to complete, but the players are still standing there completely stunned and surprised to see him continuing like that. When they see his determination and how hard he is working, the other players start following Mahjong one by one because they also want to compete with each other and work toward being the best players that they can be. Just like that, Mahjong's athletes go through and endure the hellish training sessions, and it is now 2 weeks before the friendly match is supposed to happen. However, as they continue going through training session after training session, the time seems to go by really quickly without them even noticing. The day of the match between Bolton and Manchester New finally arrives and is here. Mahjong then makes his way to the locker room and looks around at his players, who all look determined, which actually makes him start to smile when he sees them like this. Mahjong asks them a question about those people out there in the stadium, and he wants to know how many of them think they are hoping that Bolton would win this match. He goes on to explain to them that their opponent is Manchester New Hellion, and in the eyes of those people and that team, a third division team like Bolton must look like nothing more than a tiny bug that is crawling around on the floor beneath them and does not matter at all. He then asks them why they are putting in all this hard work and effort, and he wonders if it is because they actually think they can beat Manchester New in this match, but he starts laughing really hard like a clown and tells them that they are not even interested in winning this game at all. Mahjong goes on further to tell them that their real interest and goal is throwing all kinds of trash and insults on Manchester's proud face, and this action in turn will get them noticed by the high-ranking officials who work for the English Premier League and have power in the organization. After that moment, both teams make their way and head out to the field to start the match, and it is being said that Manchester's lineup is mostly made up of reserve players who play for them, which is pretty much their subsidiary team and backup squad. The commentators start wondering out loud whether it might be a matter of pride or something like that, but despite that fact, it really looks like Bolton is definitely in for a very tough game today against this opponent. They go on to think and say that even Manchester's reserve players are on par with and just as good as a second-tier league team, and for a third-tier team like Bolton, this is going to be a really tough fight for them to handle. At the same time, He1 points something out and tells him to look over to the Manchester's bench area, where there are some very strong-looking first-team players who are sitting there, and he mentions that he has only ever seen these players on television before now. Mahjong starts panicking and thinks that these players are worth as much as their entire club, and seeing them in person makes his legs feel weak. He then thinks to himself that MANHWA really did not want to come out and play today, and there are only 2 first-team players on the field while the rest are reserve players, which gives Bolton a bit of breathing room and a better chance in this match. After that moment, Mahjong and Manchester's coach had a little bit of eye contact with each other across the field. The match then begins with Bolton's player sending a long pass right from the start of the game. The ball then perfectly lands right in front of another Bolton player, but his first touch is not smooth at all when he tries to control it, so Manchester's player Colin quickly steals the ball away from him and runs away with it down the field. He then sends a long pass forward in the direction of his teammate, who is waiting ahead, and when people look at this trajectory and the way he passed it, it is clear that he has a really great eye for finding his teammate's position on the field. The guy who gets the ball charges forward, but another player of Bolton steps in front of him to block. Dominic then smiles at the Manchester player, who then grins at him and shoots the ball straight. However, the ball hits the post and misses, and turns out, Anderson, who is the ace of Manchester's reserve team, showing off a threatening long-range shot. Seeing that, Manchester's head thinks that Bolton is not even worth his time and they are almost laughable, especially the Changa guy. He thinks that seeing him play in person is even worse. He wonders to himself that the player's first touch sent the ball flying about 2 meters away from him, and his finishing skills are absolutely terrible and not good at all, and Changa has got some decent speed, but that is really about it since everything else about his playing ability is way below standard level. After that, Manchester is back on the attack again and their player dribbles the ball past the halfway line of the field, going into enemy territory where Bolton is defending. Just then at that moment, another player from Bolton who is named Delicate stands right in front of him to try to stop his advance. The Manchester player then spots and sees Anderson cutting in from the side of the field, and he quickly passes the ball over to him so he can continue the attack. Anderson then runs straight towards the goal with the ball at his feet, and then he shoots the ball hard and it goes flying towards the net to score, but Dominic appears out of nowhere at the last second and hits the ball away with an incredible and powerful headbutt to save the goal. Seeing that happen right in front of him, Anderson gets actually really frustrated and he wonders out loud what is wrong with these Bolton players, since this is just a friendly match that does not really matter, so why are they trying so hard their all when they are clearly not as good as Manchester? After that, Dominic just stares directly at Anderson without saying anything and then spits on the ground right in front of him to provoke him and make him even more angry. Manchester's team head turns to the coach and tells him that if they just keep knocking on the door like this over and over again, they will eventually break through Bolton's defense at some point. Manchester's player named Ryan Benedict then sends the ball upfield all the way to the front line in one single go with a powerful kick, and Dominic tries his very best to run after it as fast as he can and catch up to the play before it is too late. Out of nowhere, Anderson just charges right past him with a fast breakthrough that nobody saw coming, and the commentators are impressed to see that kind of amazing acceleration from him on the field today. Anderson then kicks the ball with his full power and all his strength behind it, and the ball then goes flying straight towards the net in a way that shocks everyone who is watching the game. At the 30-minute mark of the first half of the match, after putting relentless pressure on Bolton's defense for a while, Manchester finally breaks through with the opening goal. Anderson thinks to himself that if he gets serious about playing, Bolton is not a match for him at all, but then he gets shocked to see that Dominic is suddenly doing a striking pose that looks just like the Statue of Liberty monument. However, the commentators notices that he's appealing for offsides and Dominic confidently raising his hand, calling for offside. Everyone thinks that Dominic's appeal is so confident that even the referee seems taken aback and surprised by how sure he is, and the linesman has not even raised his flag yet to signal offside, which seems like one of those typical appeals that players make after conceding a goal to their team. They notice that Dominic's eyes are filled with confidence in what he is saying, and he is completely convinced that it was offside. The referee then calls for a VAR review to check the play again, which makes everyone wonder and question if Dominic's appeal has actually worked and convince the officials to take another look. Manchester's team head thinks that Bolton's players are just like their coach in every way, as they would do absolutely anything to avoid conceding a goal, even in the ugliest and most annoying way possible that makes the game less enjoyable. He then notices that the VAR system is now up on the screen for everyone in the stadium to see clearly, and everyone thinks that it is this exact moment right here that shows Anderson was clearly ahead of Delicate when the pass was made to him, but Dominic timed it perfectly and caught him in an offside position. Dominic then starts making fun of Anderson in front of everyone, which makes the Manchester's team head think to himself that Bolton is actually setting up an offside trap on purpose, luring them in to tire out their attackers and wear them down over time. However, Mahjong thinks that they actually got really lucky in that situation because Sieg was caught off guard and completely messed up his positioning on the field, and even though it worked in their favor this one time, Dominic really set Manchester off and made them angry with his behavior. He then starts laughing like a complete maniac, looking at Manchester's team head who is actually furious about what just happened on the field. After that, the match continues with Anderson shooting another goal, but this time, Dominic easily blocks it. Now, Manchester has racked up 17 attempted goals in 30 minutes, and Bolton's defense is actually holding up strong. However, everyone believes that they might have been playing on a tilted field this whole time because there has not been a single goal scored yet by either team. Seeing that, Mahjong thinks to himself that Bolton's players are not just playing well on defense, but they have really covered the whole field and every area of it effectively. He thinks and says out loud that Anderson is really something else and special as a player, and he would bet money that he makes it to the first team within a year or two from now. Mahjong laughs at that comment and says back to his friend that he is actually betting that Anderson gets called up to the first team this winter season instead of waiting that long. Mahjong then goes on to say that Manchester's lineup today is a mix of reserve players and first-team players all together, plus MANHWA and the reserve coach have completely different tactics and ways of playing the game, so it is not surprising at all that their coordination is a complete mess and not working well. He further adds that the only first-team field player who is on the pitch today, whose name is Elise Pedro Carmacho, used to split his time between playing for the reserves and the first team before this match. However, he points out and says that Carmacho has barely touched the ball yet during this entire match so far. Mahjong responds and says that Camacho has just been holding back his skills, or maybe their team head is too arrogant and confident and told him to take it easy and not try too hard. Mahjong further goes on to say and explain that their team head does not care about this match at all in the slightest, and if the only reliable winger on Manchester's first team got injured in a pointless game like this one, that would be a real problem and disaster for them. Bolton supporters are cheering passionately and loudly even though their team is on the defensive side right now, and their energy and enthusiasm is absolutely incredible to witness. The fans have also prepared for a special cheer to show their support, and then they show and hold up a poster of a cat which surprises everyone who sees it. Manchester's team head then realizes and notices that Bolton's players are changing their positions on the field like they have been waiting for some kind of cue or signal. He then looks around the field and the sidelines and realizes that there was not a signal from the bench at all, so they are just reorganizing themselves on their own without any instructions. After that, Anderson and Dominic run to get the ball, but Dominic easily intercepts the ball and passes it back. The match then continues with Manchester's player named Frederick stealing the ball away from Bolton's player, and then he sends a long pass forward to his teammates. However, the ball flies really high up in the air, and Anderson and Dominic are both waiting at the landing zone this time to get control of it. Dominic then jumps up into the air to try to get the ball first, but Anderson does something absolutely dirty, as he hits Dominic's leg in midair, which knocks him down hard on the ground. Everyone then thinks and worries that Dominic might have actually dislocated his shoulder from the way he landed on the ground so hard. Mahjong is also getting really furious about what just happened to his player out there. He thinks to himself that it is not just that they do not have a center back on the field anymore, but they really needed Dominic specifically to execute their formation tactics that they had been practicing. Mahjong then turns around and tells Victor to warm up really well during the halftime break because he will be going into the game next as a substitute. On the other hand, Manchester's team head is quite happy about this situation, and he thinks to himself that the most annoying center-back player just got out of the game for them. The head then decides to send Camacho in the second half to show Bolton in the second half. During the break, Manchester's team head completely freaks out and yells at his team for embarrassing themselves in front of a third-rate team like Bolton. He tells them angrily that there is no point in wearing those new Manchester jerseys when they are not even going to shoot the ball and try to score goals. He adds and says that they cannot tarnish and ruin the Manchester name any further than they already have, and in the second half of the match, he wants them to play like their life depends on winning this game. Meanwhile on Bolton's side, Victor tells Mahjong that he cannot just be a center-back all of a sudden like this without any preparation or practice. Mahjong responds and says back to him that Victor was whining and complaining about being benched and not playing, and now he is saying no and refusing when Mahjong finally gives him a chance to play. Victor talks back and argues that he is an attacking midfielder player and not a center-back defender, since even multi-position players have their limits on what they can do. Victor further goes on to say that since he is just bench material who does not play much, they stuck him in whatever position they needed, treating him like a training dummy who does not matter. Hearing that, Mahjong makes an ugly and angry face and says back that he was actually training Victor to be an all-round player who can play anywhere. Mahjong then tells him whether by choice or not, he stuck with his grueling training and do he think he didn't gain anything from all that. He then tries to encourage victory, saying he got the potential to become his own version of Rudy Gullies, without even knowing it. For the last time, Mahjong asks him if he really think that he can't do their rotation tactics to work in the second half, as no one's role is more important than his. After that, the second half begins with Bolton making 2 substitutions as the last half begins. Dennis Slips replaces the injured Dominic, and for the first time since the Mahjong era began, Victor is stepping onto the field. After that, the junior in the crowd switches their cards in support of Victor, and this time, they have made a rabbit. Suddenly, Bolton's player switches their positions right as the second half starts, and this completely surprises the other team. The coach tells the head that Bolton are now playing in a 4-3-3 formation on the field, and there is Victor who is pushing Quick Floyd, who was comfortably playing as a center-back before, into the offensive line up front, and Victor is taking the center-back role himself in the defense. However, the head thinks to himself that Quick Floyd has occasionally been used as a forward player during the season before this, but at best he is just a lower league dribbler who is not that skilled, and they are trying their best to mask and hide the gap in skill between the main center-back Dominic and the substitution player Victor who replaced him. The head then starts thinking to himself that Mahjong might actually be fooling around with him and playing mind games, but he tells himself that he needs to focus on the match right now as Manchester is leading the game with their performance. The match then begins again after the substitution is made with Camacho cutting inside with the ball at his feet and moving forward toward the goal to create a scoring opportunity. However, Dennis is coming up really fast towards Camacho to block him and stop his advance, but Camacho spots Anderson in a better position, so he passes the ball back to him using his back kick technique. Anderson is really excited and thinks to himself that the player who was in his way before is now gone, so this time his shot is going to go in for real and score. He then shoots the ball with all his power, and it goes flying straight towards the net to score a goal, but Victor just jumps at it like a complete maniac and takes the ball right in his face to block it. Seeing that, the crowd starts cheering loudly for Victor, saying that he looks amazing out there and so do his skills on the field. The commentators point out that Victor had barely seen any playing time during the season before this match, but today, after a really long rest on the bench waiting for his chance, he is showing off an incredible hustle that is really impressive. After that, Mahjong and his friend wear some goofy glasses and starts dancing, which makes the Manchester's coach enraged. He then tells his team to push the line up as they must score because he thinks scoring is the only thing that can make them win. Manchester then pushes the line forward after being blocked all game. Ryan Benedict now has the ball in his possession, and he thinks to himself that not being able to score against these third-tier kids is absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing for them. He then shoots a long shot from far away that falls down towards Bolton's penalty box area where the defenders are waiting. Victor and another Bolton player both try to hit the ball away at the same time, but they just clash into each other instead and the ball ends up going to Owen, who is ready. Owen then shoots the ball straight towards Changa, who is making a run forward, but the Manchester's coach yells out and tells Camacho to catch him no matter what it takes, and it does not matter how speedy Changa is because he is still just a third-tier player who should not be that hard. Camacho thinks to himself that the coach is right and correct, since ever since he got called up to the first team to play, he has left countless defenders in the dust behind him with his speed. Suddenly, he notices that the gap between him and Changa is actually getting wider and wider instead of closing. After that, Changa manages to shoot the ball with perfect timing and it goes inside the net successfully and secures a goal for the Bolton team finally. After that, everyone starts cheering for Changa and they think that the most important thing about scoring right now is that Changa literally ripped off Camacho, one of the fastest players in the EPL, proving that his speed isn't limited to EFL 1. On the other hand, Manchester's head is furious as he never imagined that an Asian guy would be faster than Camacho. He thinks that even in the EPL, there are only a handful of players faster than Camacho and he's just a third division player. The coach then tells the head that it looks like they are going to have to switch players because Changa is too fast and there is something even worse that can happen if he moves up the line for a comeback goal and then gives up space in the back. Hearing that, the head freaks out and asks if he is really asking him to substitute a first-team player just because they are being played by a third division player. Furthermore, he asks the coach if he is bad at making judgments and says that they are still way ahead in the game in terms of ball possession. At the same time, a Manchester player is running at Changa to get the ball, but just as he holds Changa's shoulder, he just does a backflip. Changa then starts crying that he hurt his back because of the player touching him and now, the referee gives him a yellow card. Seeing that, Hewan tells him that Manchester's head is going to kill him sooner or later, but Mahjong says that if he really wants to kill him then he could come at him fast. It turns out that Coach Pep's order and instruction was not to win the game at all, but to employ something that will definitely ruin Manchester's face and reputation instead. So, to break Manchester down, it is actually better to break them down psychologically and school them on how to self-destruct. This is the exact tactic that Mahjong has been focusing on the entire time since the friendly match was scheduled. However, even though they changed formation several times during the game and employed some really confusing tactics that seemed complicated, in the end, they only had 3 or 4 tricks and strategies that they could execute perfectly on the field at any given time during the match. So far in this game, Mahjong has used a total of 3 different formations to confuse their opponents, and while it may seem diverse on the surface and the multi-positioning of players maximizes the irregular feel, at the end of the day, it is still a tactic that is based on strong defense and long ball counters with a lot of distance between the front line and second lines of players. Now, it's time for Mahjong's main tactic, the one he specially prepared for his opponent's mental breakdown. The audience then shows a card with Monkey's face and Bolton quickly changes its formation accordingly. The formation is now a 2-line defense for Bolton and Bolton stops the ball in front of the goal area and they are keen and focused on protecting their 1-point lead over Manchester. At the same time, Changa stays up front on the offensive side to keep the Manchester defenders on their toes and worried. The Manchester defense does not have anyone who can keep Changa's speed in check and under control, so it is not going to be easy for them to try and overlap him and stop his runs. Manchester's team head then tells its players that everyone except Benedict and Menzies should get up there and press forward aggressively, as they should score a goal at all costs no matter what it takes. Anderson then steals the ball away from another team's player as he pushes him aside roughly, which causes that player to fall hard on the ground. The referee then comes over and asks Anderson if he does not have any manners at all, because he already tripped a player in the first half too, and then he gives him a yellow card as a warning. Seeing that, Mahjong says out loud and asks why the referee is just giving warnings instead of doing more, and he asks if Manchester bribed the referee as well to help them win. Manchester's head then gets furious at the referee, but he is not given a card and his pride has already been trampled, so he needs to pull himself together so his team can make a comeback. It looks like Manchester is already mentally unrecoverable and completely broken at this point, and Coach Pep thinks to himself that Mahjong is able to see through and utilize the characteristics of not only his own players but also the opposing team's players, so he is actually a better coach than Pep expected him to be. The match then continues with Ruff and Akabi going against each other over the ball and fighting for possession. Ruff wonders to himself that even Changa and Victor, who have been benched for months without playing, are playing their part and doing well, so he cannot be the only one who ends up with a mediocre show like this today. He then quickly dodges his opponent with quadrupedal sprinting movement and quickly shoots the ball towards his teammate to continue the attack. However, Ryan from Manchester pushes the Bolton teammate really hard, which causes him to fall down on the ground in pain. The referee then comes over and gives Ryan a red card for that dangerous play, which means that he is out of the game and has to leave. Seeing that, Manchester's coach starts protesting loudly and arguing with the referee, but the referee gives him a red card as well for his behavior, and now he is out. Afterward, we are told about star quality, which is a skill, and if someone have a unique play style, that's the icing on the cake, and if he has clutch ability to excel in important games, that's the best. In addition, there is a unique story of how they got to where they are, the impact they are having on society, and some say even the name matters. Apart from that, there is a very important condition that they can't earn, so they have to be born with it, and it called appearance. In that sense, Kian can be considered to have plenty of star quality. Despite being in the 5th Division League, he have the skill to top the scoring charts this season, as well as the flexibility and ankle strength to connect with shots from off-angle positions, and the clutch ability to score multiple goals in the playoff final to take Kian's team to penalty kicks. It turns out, Kian have already captured everyone's attention with aggro nicknames like the Emperor of Chesterfield, the Returned Caesar, and the Next Kian. Kian then wonders if he should take it easy this season and play for a mid-tier team in the EFL Challengers, so he will be in the EPL next season. One day, he will definitely play for his dream club. Kian's head told him about that Bolton with his weird owner is running around these days, and the head coach was the only one at this meeting, and he suddenly called out a ridiculous amount of money and drove all the other team scouts away. Kian is panicking, saying that he has no intention of going to the 3rd Division League to play there at all. The coach tells him that they really need to finalize this deal with Pato or whatever team it is before they can even begin to negotiate with other teams for better offers. After that, Kian has to spend precious time and effort following Bolton's movements and activities in order to find a good excuse to reject their offer and not join them. However, things do not go the way that Kian planned them to go, as his coach tells him that Bolton have sent him an invitation to watch a friendly match between Bolton and Manchester New. Kian thinks to himself that they are setting the table this big and making such a huge effort just to recruit him, which is a little overwhelming and surprising to him. Back in the present time, Kian never thought that it was because the mentality of the young Manchester players was wavering and weak, but he never thought they would even crush and defeat MANHWA's team like this. Kian then notices that Coach Guadalajara is here at the match as well, watching everything, and based on the performance shown today by Bolton, it is actually possible that the partnership rumors about Bolton could be true after all. On the other hand, Owen prepares for the free kick, and it's quite a distance from the goal because Benedict fouled the ball early. Now, Bolton only needs to protect 1-point lead to win, and they don't really need to do much offense because the only offense is getting ready inside. Owen thinks that it's a 1 assist against Manchester, which is not a bad record, but it was Changa's speed that made it possible. Owen then kicks the ball that goes straight past some players and reaches the goalkeeper, but he couldn't stop, and Bolton scores the game-winning goal. Everyone then starts cheering for Owen, calling him a world-class player, but now, Bolton immediately removes Changa and Owen from the field, and they are sent off with a standing ovation. Everyone thinks that Changa and Owen both proved today that their speed and kicking power can work against EPL teams and capture clips from preseason games that will appear in players' highlight videos. After that, Biggs and Slow Bulky come to the stage and enter the game as a center-back and a striker respectively, but Slow is brought in specifically to use his height advantage to help strengthen the set-pieces defense for Bolton. Mahjong and his friend are giving Changa and Owen a lift and taking them off the field to rest, which is definitely a reward for their efforts and hard work during the match. Seeing that substitution happen, Manchester's coach gets really frustrated, and he thinks to himself that they only have 4 minutes left in the game, and assuming Bolton starts to go all in on defense and continues to play grass rolling and time wasting, this is a complete defeat for them. After the final push, the match comes to an end, marking Bolton's first preseason game, and they beat Manchester at home with a score of 2-0, winning by a clear 2-goal difference. Victor is also very tired as he thinks that he has not played in a long time, and even though he only plays in the second half, it feels extremely hard for him. Another Bolton player then lifts Victor's arm high into the air, and the crowd begins cheering loudly for him, celebrating how well he performs on the field today. However, a Manchester player thinks to himself that with a team of that level, there will surely come a day when they face Bolton again, whether it happens through promotion or another stage. Later, at the press conference, some reporter asks Mahjong if it is true that the strategy was communicated through the Junior Wanderers card section. Mahjong thinks that Junior Wanderers card section operation was a crucial signal tactic in the Manchester match. He then thinks that it makes it harder to recognize the timing of positional changes, slowing down the new Manchester coaching staff's tactical response, encoded instructions to spur on the opponent's mental breakdown through an annoying illustration. Mahjong tells the reporters that it's a preseason game, so why not enlist the help of the supporters? He then says that they also wanted to give the young Wanderers who love Bolton a special memory. However, another guy says that Mahjong used the Middle Eastern-style grass rolling that was criticized against Wigan. Hearing that, Mahjong reminds the interviewer that Manchester was the one who started the mud fight and dirty play by hurting Dominic first with that dangerous tackle, so he asks why people are trying to make it sound like it is Bolton's fault. After that interview was finished, an article was published in the news and the Devils' fans' dislike for Mahjong was about 5 times higher than it was before the game even started. Mahjong actually enjoys these responses and reactions from the angry fans, but his friend asks him if he really thinks this is cool because it looks like Mahjong might die at this point from all the hate. However, Mahjong says that Manchester now has a vendetta against them and wants revenge badly, and if they keep this momentum going and stay strong, they can turn the match against Manchester into a local derby that everyone cares about. Mahjong then goes on to say that from now on, the whole soccer world will be watching them closely and paying attention, because they are the team that beat Manchester and embarrassed them in front of everyone today. Meanwhile, Keane's manager sits down with him and tells him that in a derby league that just got promoted to the EFL Challengers division, Bolton has made the same exact £400,000 offer as the other teams did. However, Keane tells his manager firmly that it does not matter if they offer £400,000 or even £500,000, but Bolton is the right place for a ready-made star like him to play and develop. 3 days later, Bolton confirmed the signing of Keane officially and all the fans started praising Bolton for getting such a promising player to join their team. Mahjong thinks to himself that the fandom is divided right now between supporters and doubters, and they will have to silence the naysayers with their performance on the field. Just then, Keane shows up and asks if he has a specific job or role in mind for him to play, because he is always ready to do whatever is needed for the team. Mahjong then looks around at Keane properly from head to toe, and he thinks to himself that there are so many different things he can do for Keane and use him for on the team, but then again, Keane is just so incredibly good looking that it is really distracting and hard to focus. Afterward and following that moment, Mahjong takes out his phone from his pocket and starts streaming Keane live, saying out loud that this is a tryout shot for everyone to watch. Mahjong further goes on to say and explain that they are going to measure Keane's shooting speed with their speed gun device to see how hard he can kick. Keane cannot believe that Mahjong is shooting YouTube content as soon as he gets here to the training ground, but he thinks to himself that he has to get used to this kind of attention because he is a star player now. Mahjong then tells Keane clearly that they will have to go over 100 km per hour before they can actually use it for real content that people will want to watch. Keane confidently says with pride that he is going to shoot the ball even faster than 100 km per hour, and he tells everyone not to get surprised when they see it. Keane then shoots the ball with all his power, and it reaches 138 km per hour, which surprises everyone else who is watching and testing him. Next up on the tests, Mahjong tells Keane that they are going to take a combat test in which a massive striker named Slow Bulky is going to take care of him and challenge him physically. Seeing that, Mahjong thinks to himself that Keane's body balance is absolutely fantastic and even better than he expected it to be, and he knows and can see that Keane is holding up really well despite the huge size difference between them. After that, it is the dribble test that Keane has to complete, but it has no real impact or impressive result, so Keane is going to do the free kick test now instead. Lastly, it is the interview turn where Keane has to talk to the media, and Keane already looks like a complete loser who does not know what to say or how to present himself properly. Mahjong and his friend starts arguing over Keane wearing makeup as Mahjong believes that they must disguise him, so he doesn't get terrorized. Emma then introduces herself to Keane, saying she is team leader of the strategic planning team. Keane tells her that it's common for a ready-made star like him to have exclusive content, so it's no big deal. Mahjong then tells him that all he has to do is stick to the script and pretend to be good-looking every now and then. After that, Emma tells Mahjong that they have 5 bids for the main sponsor of the uniforms, but Mahjong then asks him about the biggest down payment. She replies that it is a chicken company, but Mahjong thinks that he can smell another opportunity to make money. The next day, Mahjong asks Changa if he wants some chicken instead of eating fish all day, and Changa says he does, so Keane asks them if they want him to go ask the kitchen to fry some chicken. Mahjong quickly says that he doesn't want any normal fried chicken, but what they want is K-chicken. After that, Bolton and Darkdengryong signed an advertising deal, including a main jersey sponsorship deal and an agreement for a Darkdengryong franchise to be put in the home stadium. With the money freed up, Bolton went straight to signing left-back Martin Peterson from EFL Challengers. He once says that things are going well now that they have a sponsor, but Mahjong says that it's all because of money, and now they have spent about £150,000 and no one's complaining. He once says that Peterson is a guy who was excluded from the starting lineup because of that problem, and still, he will be a good card for them since they don't have a straight fullback. On the other hand, Ruff thinks that the ratings for the Manchester game were 10 for Owen and 9.1 for Changa, compared to his 6.8, and he can't believe that's all he can do in such an important game, and then acting and the four-legged walking became the talk of the town. He also thinks that there are a lot of memes that are created, and even his old videos have been dug up, as he has been labeled a body gag attacker. A few days later, a pre-season friendly match is going on against Stockport Mad Hatters. Ruff manages to score a hat trick in the next match with the final score of 4-0, but Kian wonders to himself what is wrong with that guy Ruff, as Kian did not think it was a competition at all because Ruff was buried and not performing well in the Manchester match before. Another few days have passed by, and there is another preseason friendly match against an EFL, two-side team called the Salford Sharks that Bolton has to play. The competition for the starting spot between the two strikers Ruff and Kian is on fire and really intense now, and Kian manages to get a hat trick and score 3 goals in this game. Mahjong thinks to himself that Ruff is always someone who stepped up when he got the competition and pressure from another player, and he thinks that the two of them playing together in a 4-4-2 formation might actually be a good idea to try out. Mahjong says aloud that Bolton is doing really good and performing well in these matches against other teams, but he thinks to himself that they are playing into the hands of Manchester alone with this strategy that he has planned. Mahjong knows and understands that Manchester United is the only team with Manchester in their name that is really famous and well known around the world, but they are all teams from the Manchester area and region, and this game series is a great way to reinforce the idea that Bolton is a Manchester team as well and belongs there with them. Later on, Mahjong meets up with Manchester Blue Moon's head of team operations whose name is Francis Carson, and Francis tells him that the player he is meeting today is actually a friend of whose promotion to the first team was delayed due to the team's overcrowding and too many players. After that, Mahjong cannot wait to see how the player is like and what his skills are, and he is hoping that the player is a mobile playmaker like Paul Palmer from the Blue Moon first team who can control the game. However, the player turns out to be Kian Brocken, which is Manchester's reserve midfielder. Seeing him, Mahjong thinks that he is actually a gold mine and quickly introduces himself to him. The guy who brings Carson along receives a call from the coach on his phone, and he asks the coach what plan B is if Kian turns down the offer from Bolton again and refuses to join. The coach says in response that Kian is very greedy and ambitious, and even if he is benched and not playing, he will stay with the team and prove himself because he is greedier than any other person the coach has ever met in his life. He further goes on to say that Kian will not turn down the offer to take the Bolton lease and join them, which surprises the guy a lot, and he wonders to himself what exactly Mahjong and the coach talked about in their conversation. After meeting with Kian and finishing that discussion, Mahjong asks Carson if he can possibly meet one other player as well, but Carson gets shocked and surprised to hear that request from him. Mahjong explains to Carson that he told Kian what he wanted in a player and the qualities he was looking for, and Kian found him the right guy right away without any delay. The guy that Kian recommended turns out to be a player named Frank Gerrals who might be perfect for the team. Later, Mahjong tells his friend that he always wanted Kian, but he never announced his intentions, so Coach Pep must have seen right through him. He-1 asks him what this Frank Gerrals guy is like, so Mahjong says that he's a classic type of holding midfielder and he's a bit dwarfed physically but he's quick on his feet, so having him as a holding midfielder with David will give them a lot of tactical stability. He-1 then asks him about the opponent for the opening match and how it makes it impossible to predict their game plan. Mahjong replies that the coach decides the tactics and his tactical analysis has already begun, but he thinks that coach's methods are like those of Eric Lai at Blackpool, using a school of thought from his mad days. The next day at Reading Royals' home ground called Madejski Palace for an important match. Coach Celestial is focusing on observing the opposing team carefully. He thinks Mahjong has used a rather strange formation for this game. 2 strikers are placed far apart from each other, and 2 attacking midfielders are lined up vertically, which is like placing Owen Praises who cannot move well in the false 9 position. Celestial does not know what it means to leave the center empty in the highest striker position available. He carefully observes the opposing players to understand their strategy. Kian is a formidable player with great skill, but in that wing position his influence has been reduced significantly. It is simply that containing Kian has become easier for his team to manage. He assesses that Mahjong is an excellent strategist, and he tells himself that he must not be complacent but must focus on putting pressure on Kian to make him make mistakes. On the field at this moment the ball is at the feet of a Reading player. Kian cannot break through the pressure being applied. McIntyre of Reading passes a long ball to his teammate Carroll up front. Carroll, with his superior ability, defeats his opponent in the air. Reading's exhibition receives the ball with his chest and controls it. He shoots the ball powerfully into the opponent's goal past the keeper. In the 17th minute of the first half, Kelvin Exhibition, a product of the Youth Academy, opens the scoring for his team. Kian secretly blames himself for losing the ball earlier, which led to the goal being scored. At this moment, Kian is directly leading the ball forward himself. Kian is probably too nervous and loses the ball to the opponent again. He-1 suggests moving Kian to the center position, but Mahjong disagrees with this idea because moving to the center at this time will bring more defenders rushing in to mark him, and if Kian loses confidence in the center position, then it is really over for him. Although Mahjong intentionally puts Kian on the wing, he is still not complacent and has sent 2 people to accompany him to restrain him tightly. At the same time, when attacking, Reading also uses the heading tactic based on Carroll's aerial ability in the box. This tactic was originally designed based on the assumption of having a pair of strikers, one big and one small, taking advantage of Dominic's injury which reduces his aerial ability. Celestial uses a pair of muscular strikers and adjusts the tactics accordingly to exploit this. He assesses that Ruben Celestial compared to the coach of Blackpool is clearly a much better student of tactics. On the field, Carroll receives the ball, and he jumps up to head the ball with power. This time he passes it back to his teammate and Armor Savage shoots the ball hard. The shot comes from outside the penalty area with force. The ball rolls low into the goal past the diving keeper. In the 31st minutes of the first half, Reading takes a 2-goal lead over Bolton. This time the goal is scored by Savage, who celebrates. The two Bolton coaches stand and watch with frustrated faces at this development. Mahjong looks at the opponent's player who just scored against them. Savage turns to look at Mahjong directly and gives a contemptuous smile to him. This makes Mahjong extremely angry at the disrespect. Kian is standing in front of the ball and blames himself again for losing the ball that led to this. He thinks he cannot ruin his official debut match like this for his team. He looks towards his coach and wonders what the coach would do in this situation right now. Suddenly Mahjong raises his hand and makes some kind of signal by raising 3 fingers, the thumb, index finger, and little finger together. All the Bolton players see that signal clearly. It seems to be a signal for some kind of special tactic they practiced, and Kian's eyes light up and he gives a confident smile after seeing it. The commentator, based on the results and assessment up until now in the match, says that using Kian in the winger position does not seem like a good choice at all for this match today. This is because Kian is not the type of player who can only play football with individual skills alone without team support. He continues to be isolated on the wing area, which slows down the attack significantly, and he does not seem to fit well at all with the nominee striker style that is being used by the team. It seems at first that Bolton is now trying to build a slow attack and pass the ball back to Brocken for safety and ball retention. However, suddenly and unexpectedly, the Bolton players are moving at breakneck speed forward toward the goal instead of playing it safe. This sudden change makes the Reading coach extremely surprised. Brocken has escaped and got past 2 opposing players with simple and quick movements past them that were effective. He breaks through the central defense line and is advancing toward the goal with the ball at his feet. After that, Owen and Brocken have switched positions in the formation. The Reading coach orders Holmes to mark Brocken and the fullback to retreat and protect the penalty area immediately. Mahjong smiles smugly when he sees the opposing coach reacting too slowly to adjust. The Reading coach is extremely tense about what will happen. Brocken has arrived at the right time and space, but Kian is still being closely marked with Changa entering on the left side. Kian shouts for his teammate to pass the ball to him now. The ball flies towards Kian through the air, who tries to overcome the opponent's block on him. He leans on the player's shoulder and leans back with his body. He raises his leg high and shoots the ball with a backflip motion. The ball flies straight into the goal behind the keeper. Kian's shot stuns his opponent with its creativity. Kian is also very hopeful about his shot just now, and Coach Changa bites his hand anxiously and tensely. Mahjong says that Celestial is strong in selection and focus but still lacks in identifying the opponent's capabilities properly. Back in the game, Kian takes a powerful shot with a special pose that surprises everyone. The ball flies straight into the goal behind the keeper, and this makes the commentators gasp in surprise at what they see. The coach of Reading thinks that the goal conceded by his team just now is due to bad luck, and if he adjusts the defensive tactics, he can return to marking Kian with 2 people again. He also affirms that Bolton's current lineup must have rushed into a decision to look for an equalizer quickly. At this moment, a Reading player is advancing on his own, but Savage is also following behind him. There are many attacking players moving forward. Savage passes the ball through the hole in the defense. Carroll receives the ball in space. Carroll shoots from afar and then it goes in again past the keeper. In the 39th minute of the first half, Reading takes the lead by 2 goals again over Bolton. Mahjong thinks that when the space behind is completely empty, they will want to rush into it to attack. The Bolton players carefully pass the ball to one another across the field, keeping control and staying calm at first, but then, suddenly, they speed up their movement and push forward again. Owen sends a kick that connects perfectly with Peterson while he is running, matching his pace without slowing him down. At this moment, all the Bolton players except the 2 center-backs and Owen move past the halfway line and join the attack. Peterson drives forward quickly with the ball at his feet, and many players are already gathered inside the penalty area, waiting and preparing. Instead of forcing a shot, Peterson sends the ball back out of the penalty area to a teammate. Dignity is waiting there, fully ready, and he receives the pass cleanly and without mistake. Dignity then takes a strong shot straight toward the opponent's goal with full power. Even though he is a player who rarely scores, the Bolton captain manages to score at a very important moment, cutting down the score when it matters most. In just a short instant, both teams trade goals one after another, and now Reading finds itself being chased and pushed under pressure. At this moment, Carroll is standing in front of the ball for Reading. He sighs at the situation. Adam Carroll is slowly passing the ball back to slow down the pace of the match intentionally. But Bolton has no intention of slowing down the pace of the match at all. The Bolton player activates the speed boost mode with his running. He pushes the ball forward then rushes up, breaking the opponent's defense with just one touch of the ball. He shoots decisively at the goal. The ball rolls into the goal and the result is now a draw between teams. Bolton quickly brought the match back to the starting line with the score. The gentle shot makes the ball glide past the post and into the net. Hee-won is quite surprised that his team can equalize so quickly, but it would be better if they could come back and end the first half with a lead. However, Hee-won is worried if they only use fullbacks for attack right now, and he does not know if that is okay tactically. Currently only Quick and Dennis are doing the defensive task in the back. Even though the attack is fierce and effective, they have conceded too many goals already. Mahjong calmly thinks that it is still within the prediction of the number of goals conceded for this match, and if they continue to apply strong pressure like now, almost the entire team is defending for Reading. Moreover, they have conceded 2 goals in the blink of an eye just now. Now Reading will definitely not dare to raise the lineup forward again. In a situation of being withdrawn back, they cannot carry out a quick counterattack with the 2 slow strikers of Reading available. In the end, the counterattack can almost only be carried out with the Bolton fullbacks, who are quick-footed, so there is no difficulty stopping them. Even if they participate in the attack, the situation may still be like the 3rd goal conceded earlier. If the opponent shoots from afar and cannot be stopped, then so be it and they accept it. The success rate of Carroll's long shots is almost like random shots compared to other players performing at much lower success rate percentages. In the end, that is no different from only attacking with wingers when defenders closely mark the striker. Bolton is the team who is dominating and pressing, so the opponent is definitely much more dangerous in this situation. On the Reading team side, the coach is ordering the players to prolong the time or decisively clear the ball out of danger. Listening to the requests, the Reading players are trying to prolong the time as much as possible. Coach Celestial thinks that if the score is level at halftime, the spirit will be reduced for his team, and currently avoiding conceding more goals is the most important thing to do. Then he gives a smile and says that he must prolong the time available, and if the opponent tries to destroy the attack, he will solve it with set pieces instead. Exhibition shoots from outside the penalty area but is blocked by Dennis's foot in the way. So, there will be a corner kick for Reading, and they have many players moving up into the box. That in this situation, Reading is under pressure from Bolton and they are trying to solve it through set pieces now. McIntyre takes the corner kick for Reading, but Reading players are all moving together in formation. This makes the 2 Bolton coaches very surprised by the movement. McIntyre pretends to cross the ball but passes short instead. The entire Reading team is surrounding the corner flag to stall for time deliberately. The fans of Reading even turn their backs on the stadium in frustration. Reading pretends to stall for time and arrange a set-piece formation. But that is a stalling tactic to waste time. Although it seems a bit poor as a strategy, there is no other way for them. Mahjong laughs loudly, laughing until tears come out of his eyes. He holds his stomach and laughs because Carroll is warned for wasting time and time is up now. The first half ends with the referee's whistle and Mahjong sees that Ruben Celestial has not abstained from any tricks or tactics. Currently in the Reading Royals locker room, the coach is telling the players to stay awake to control the pace because Bolton has deployed a run-and-shoot tactic in the final minutes effectively. Reading Royals strength analyst Ryan cannot believe the tactics that Reading deployed this time around. The tactics were optimized and applied to fit the situation of the opposing team but were easily broken by Bolton. Moreover, the tactic only scored 2 goals in the blink of an eye for Reading, and when looking at the tactical board, he clearly sees this tactic before somewhere. He searches online and sees that this tactic has reference for movement in rugby, the tactic of attacking entirely with long passes forward. He also thinks that this tactic is so difficult that he does not dare to apply it himself, and it is unbelievable that someone has applied the tactic perfectly like this. The second half of the match between Reading and Bolton starts right now on the field. Reading replaces both strikers with new players because they want to speed up their attack to deal with Bolton's fast counterattacks from the first half. They give up their height advantage to focus on speed instead, which is a risky tactical change that could backfire. Coach Celestial thinks that now they are attacking faster, they cannot push everyone forward without being careful about leaving gaps in defense. Losing the height advantage is bad for set pieces, but changing the rhythm of the game should help balance things out overall and give them more control. Bolton takes out Captain Dignity and brings in player Roughlock to change their setup as well. Owen and Bracken move back to create a 3-man midfield that gives more control in the center of the field. Mahjong feels confident he can still stop those weak players even without Dignity in midfield because the formation is solid and well organized. Kian plays best as a number 8 midfielder who attacks and defends equally well in both directions. The ball goes into Braken's area and another player stops it before anything dangerous happens to their defense. The player plays close to the center back spot to add extra defensive cover when needed. Coach Celestial thinks hard that if Bolton attacks more, he will add more defenders in the center and let McIntyre cover the empty spots that get left behind. A Reading player moves forward to attack, but Garris blocks him with a great tackle that wins the ball cleanly. Mahjong watches from the sideline and says that Garris is fast enough and defends well enough to stop his wing from getting past him. Besides, it is not the right time to play from the wing-back position anyway because the game situation does not call for it right now. Owen sees Ruff running on the right side and decides to pass to him quickly. Ruff jumps high and gets the ball in the air with good control. Celestial thinks that Ruff is faster than Kian but not as fast as Park, so Holmes should be able to stop him from advancing. Mahjong looks confused about why Reading put so many players in the center if they use a center back to defend the wing, which seems like a waste of resources. Kian stands between two defenders who are marking him tightly, but he still finds space to work with. Kian gets past both defenders with quick footwork and scores into the net to bring Bolton back into the game. Bolton comes back with an important goal and Kian celebrates by kneeling down and making a shooting gesture with his hands. Nobody expects Kian to score with two defenders on him because it looks impossible to do. Celestial tells his team to forget about the wings and attack through the center with Savage leading the charge. But Savage cannot get past the two players marking him because they work together to shut him down completely. Brockin keeps moving forward into the center with the ball at his feet, looking for opportunities to create danger. Three centers guard this area and try to close down the space available. Celestial hopes they can block the ball and stop the attack, but Brockin beats the defense easily with one simple move that catches them off guard. He passes the ball to Ruff and Ruff shoots straight into the goal to score again. Bolton scores another goal and takes the lead now in the match. Celestial quickly asks to add more defenders to the center because his team is getting overwhelmed by Bolton's attacks. Reading takes off one player and brings in a new defender to try to stabilize things. Bolton takes off Delicate and brings Biggs onto the field to keep up the pressure on Reading's defense. Quick moves to the right stopper position in the new formation that Mahjong creates. Quick runs up with the ball under control and looks for passing options to his teammates. Quick cuts to the side and passes into the middle where teammates are waiting for the ball. He has great skills and plays more like a wingback than a stopper with his attacking runs. Kian and Quick pass the ball in triangles and mess up Reading's defense with their movement and quick passing. Kian looks at his opponent with determined eyes and shows he wants to score again. Celestial shouts at his players not to let Kian shoot because he is too dangerous in scoring positions. Everyone runs back to defend the penalty area and close the space around Kian. Kian passes the ball backward instead of shooting, which surprises the defenders who expect him to shoot. Owen appears in front of the penalty area with nobody watching him because they all focus on Kian. Owen shoots and scores again to make it even worse for Reading and seal the victory. The match ends 6-3 for Bolton in a convincing victory. He1 feels super excited because Bolton wins by a lot and dominates the second half completely. He wonders why Mahjong does not look happy even after winning so convincingly against a good team. Mahjong thinks about how Celestial copies his tactics from lower league games without really understanding them properly. He thinks Celestial is surprisingly good as a coach, but that is not true at all. It wants to wear a suit that does not fit right and trying to cut it so you can wear it properly. In this match, Celestial looks clumsy trying to find the right strategy because he does not develop it himself. This makes Mahjong sure that someone else creates the original strategy and Celestial just borrows it without understanding. Celestial seems like the type who will do anything to win no matter what it takes to succeed. If he makes his own tactics instead of copying others, he will be dangerous for Bolton to face. The Reading analyst Ryan walks by and hears what Mahjong says about tactics to someone nearby. He gets shocked when he hears Mahjong talking about tactical ideas he recognizes from his own research. He thinks his team's strategies follow advanced tactical principles that most coaches do not understand at all. These tactics cannot be stopped just by making quick changes during the game because they are too complex. They work as counterattacks for different situations and adapt to what happens in the field. They also use each player's personal skills to maximum effect in every situation. Mahjong clearly knows a lot about tactics and how to apply them in real matches. Afterwards, Celestial walks over and pats Ryan on the shoulder in a friendly way after the match. He says sorry for losing the match today because the tactics do not work out as planned. Ryan speaks with a shaky voice and surprisingly tells Celestial he is quitting his job at Reading right away. That evening at the TV station editing room, journalist Kevin Porter sits and thinks about everything he learns during his time. The first round of matches finishes and the season is underway now with more games coming. The filming for the promotional documentary ends too because they get all the footage they need for the show. The documentary will do well because of Bolton's big win and it will look impressive on screen for viewers. It will make viewers excited for next season and want to follow the team closely. He spends months investigating undercover while making the documentary to find dirt on the coach and expose secrets to the public. But he only finds normal stuff about training and preparation and nothing scandalous at all. This makes him really angry because he finds no big secrets or controversies to report on for his story. But he does discover other things that are not what he expects to find during his investigation. He looks at photos on his computer and realizes he finds something else worth noting about the team. He sees how much the coach cares about Bolton and puts in effort every day to help them. He sees that this coach works really hard and dedicates himself completely to the team and its success. The coach probably loves his team a lot and wants them to succeed more than anything else. At the office, He1 looks surprised when Mahjong says he wants to add a right back to the team roster. Mahjong thinks if they keep using fast attacking tactics like against Reading, other teams will figure it out later in the season. Also, one current player is a left back, so getting a right back makes sense for balance on both sides. Quick and some others can play right back when needed, but they are not real fullbacks who specialize in that position. The team has almost no money left in the budget after previous signings they make. The transfer market will close soon, and they are running out of time to make moves before it ends. Other clubs already buy all the good players who cost money and the market is picked clean now. Only free players are left now, and the options are limited for Bolton. Mahjong suddenly remembers the Reading player who gives him a mean look after scoring in their match. But even if that player gets released by his club, he stays loyal to his old team and probably will not join Bolton. Then Mahjong remembers something important about another player he hears about before from someone. He quickly asks Hee-won about the player with the knee injury sitting on another team's bench right now. Hee-won says it is Gary Todd who had a terrible injury last season that changes everything. After getting a skull fracture in a bad collision, Todd now has stress issues and avoids heading the ball completely in matches. Last season he could not jump for aerial duels in several games, so his club decided to let him go as a free agent. Mahjong thinks Todd used to play as a wide forward and passes well to his teammates when he is healthy and playing. Todd's best skill is pressing strikers high up the field, so he knows how to pressure opponents, tackle well, and runs fast to close down space on the field. Back on the day after the match between Bolton and Reading ends, two spectators are sitting and discussing what they just watched. Suddenly the two of them look surprised when they see someone walking by who looks familiar to them. At that moment, a man named Gadebayer is also sitting there feeling self-satisfied because he thinks someone finally recognizes him from his playing days. But no, they mistake him for someone else called Smoke Dose, which makes his face turn red with anger at the confusion. The man sitting next to him tells Gadebayer to calm down because he has been away from England for more than 7 years, so it is normal for others to mistake him for different people. But just after telling Gadebayer to relax, the other two spectators mistake the man sitting next to him for someone called DR, the boss of the hip-hop scene. After hearing that, the two men become extremely angry and chase after the two spectators who insult them. The man sitting next to Gadebayer is actually sports agent who asks Gadebayer how he feels about watching this match live at the stadium. Gadebayer sits down and looks up at the sky with a thoughtful expression on his face. He says with eyes shining with hope that Bolton would be an ideal place to start his football career for the second time after his first career ends. Currently at Mahjong's office, he is asking the two men if they want to become forward coaches at Bolton to help train the strikers. Gadebayer replies that although he announces his retirement in March after years of playing, supporting his family in his homeland makes earning money very attractive to him and only football can help him earn the money he needs. But he does not want to compete anymore as a player because he is old and his knees are all broken from years of wear and tears. So, he thinks he will become a coach instead of continuing to play professionally. He is thinking about which team to go to when suddenly the press is buzzing about a third division team that defeats Manchester United in a cup upset. After watching the first-round match live at the stadium, he decides to choose Bolton as the place he wants to work. Mahjong hesitates after hearing what Gadebayer says about his plans and in the end he refuses Gadebayer's offer to join as a coach. Gadebayer's harsh criticisms of his team's players are like knives stabbing Mahjong because they point out real weaknesses. Mahjong immediately asks if Gadebayer can improve the shooting ability of his team's forwards who struggle to score consistently, and Gadebayer says that he definitely can help them become better finishers. Mahjong understands that this will also benefit his team in the long run by making them more clinical in front of goals. Gadebayer will definitely demand a high salary because of his reputation as a former world-class player. So, spending money to do this will be a waste of the limited budget they have available. Suddenly Mahjong realizes that he is in a position of advantage just by changing the scope of work a little bit. Mahjong offers Gadebayer the possibility of signing a contract as both a coach and player, which will give him more money overall. Gadebayer complains that his knees hurt so he cannot be a player anymore after so many injuries, but Mahjong only asks him to substitute at the end of matches just to be a role model for younger players. Mahjong tries to persuade him by suggesting that if he trains the striker Changa and stands next to Changa and shows the finishing skills of a world-class player in the role of a striker partner, then the effectiveness of the coaching will increase a lot. And if he needs money beyond the salary, Mahjong has a way to help him earn extra income, he says while putting his hand in his pocket. That is to make YouTube videos about football training and skills, and he shows off the filming equipment in his pocket to serve the purpose of making YouTube videos for fans. And after that discussion, Mahjong and Gadebayer signed a cooperation contract with each other that satisfies both parties. One beautiful day at the stadium during training, Gadebayer yelled angrily at the players. He is cursing at Changa about his shooting technique during training sessions. Looking at the way Gadebayer is teaching with such intensity, Mahjong wonders whether he is really teaching seriously or just being too harsh on the players. Mahjong asks Hee-won about Gary Todd and learns that after being fired by his previous club, Gary has given up football completely and walks away from the sport. So Hee-won has to contact Gary's old high school to try to find him and reach out. Mahjong thinks that if they have both Gary Todd and Gadebayer on the team, Bolton can freely rotate the squad until the winter transfer window opens for new signings. He is a little worried about recruiting Gary Todd because if Gary gives up football because of disappointment and trauma, how can they convince him to come back and play again after everything that happens? Mahjong says that as long as Gary sits in the meeting room with them, convincing Gary to join is his job to handle. And the issue he wants to talk about now is tactics for upcoming matches. Even if they ignore the EFL Cup with its small rewards, there are still too many FA Cup matches to prepare for in the schedule. It is very hard work to prepare tactics for each individual match because every opponent is different and needs a different approach. Mahjong angrily scolds Hee-won for only being good at marketing the club and not having any sense of tactics or strategy. Mahjong also comments that some things have made a lot of progress, but other problems have not completely gone away yet. His face suddenly turns red and his eyes light up with a scary look because when the FA Cup schedule starts, there will be no time to sleep anymore with all the preparation needed. Suddenly manager Emma rushes to Mahjong's office looking concerned about something. She says that someone is insisting on seeing Mahjong right away because the person speaks quite softly but very persistently. She only hears that the person comes from Reading Football Club. She says that the person is very skinny, but the 3 security guards cannot move him away and he insists on seeing the boss no matter what they do. Mahjong wonders who it could be this time showing up without an appointment. It turns out that the person who wants to meet Mahjong is Reading's tactical analyst Ryan. He sits silently in the office with a worried expression on his face. Mahjong asks why he is silent and does not say anything to explain his visit, but Ryan still sits there silently with a face that is both shy and worried about something. Still not seeing him react or speak up, Mahjong asks him to leave the office if he has nothing to say. At this time Ryan shouts the name Mad out loud, which surprises everyone in the room. This statement startles Mahjong completely and he asks with a stuttering voice if Mad is here at Bolton right now. Looking at Ryan carefully, Mahjong thinks back that Ryan says he comes from Reading, so there must be someone else who creates tactics for Celestial at Reading Football Club. Mahjong immediately asks Ryan what he does at Reading as his job, but Ryan replies that he leaves Reading after the recent match. He stammers nervously that he is a tactical analyst for Reading who studies game strategies. Then he asks about Mad and whether Mad is working at Bolton behind the scenes. With a determined face that shows his seriousness, Ryan says that he wants to learn tactics from Mad directly and not just study them from far away. He wants to not only learn tactical concepts but also apply them in real matches to see how they work. Hearing this, Mahjong smiles because he sees an opportunity here. He thinks that if Ryan can research and apply his tactics to that extent, it will be very helpful to have him on staff. Mahjong asks again if Ryan wants to meet Mad face to face and learn directly from him. Then Mahjong raises 3 fingers in the air to make his point clear. Mahjong continues to set a condition that if Ryan wants to meet Mad in person, he will give him 3 months to develop his own tactics independently, not just copy Mad's tactics that already exist. Later, Mahjong sits down in the meeting room where a guy tells him about the stats and performance of different players on the team, saying that Changa and Ruff are really active on the perimeter areas and Hyung's offensive screens will allow the center player to work effectively. He then quickly tries to show the renewed tactics that they used against Reading team, centering the strategy on breaking through and pressing the box area hard. However, Mahjong interrupts and says that the premise and basic idea seems a bit flawed and wrong, because Kian will be blocked by defenders before he even gets the ball in his possession, and the only reason it worked against Reading was because Reading left the midfield wide open with only Savage covering that entire area. He then goes on to say that he would use Quick instead of Kian as a dribbler to attack, because it will open up more room and space, since everyone knows and expects that Quick's shot ability is weak and not dangerous. Hearing that, the guy writes down the strategy changes in his notes, but Mahjong thinks to himself that the guy still has a long way to go before becoming a good analyst. Mahjong then receives a phone call from his friend named Hee-won, who tells him over the phone that he sent Gary to Bolton to join the team. Hee-won tells Mahjong over the phone that he is afraid that Gary will get in an accident while traveling, so he is taking the train instead of driving or flying there. Mahjong understands that Gary is more traumatized about hitting his head somewhere and this mental issue might be harder to fix than Quick's problem with shooting. In addition, Mahjong thinks that he does not really know what Gary can do as a fullback player yet, but they really need Gary to create the team color and identity that is critical and important for this game and their strategy. At the same time, Gary finally arrives at Bolton's building after his long train ride, and he wonders to himself why they really want him to join their team so badly. Gary then enters the office where Mahjong quickly does a kick motion right in front of him suddenly, while wearing a terrible and scary mask on his face. It turns out that Mahjong was actually testing Gary's reflexes and reaction time, and he thinks to himself that Gary really does have great reflexes just like he heard. Mahjong then introduces himself properly to Gary and tells him directly that he should become a Bolton player and join their team. Hearing those words, Gary gets really mad and angry, and he asks Mahjong if he really finds it funny to mock and make fun of his trauma and mental issues. Gary then goes on to say that he has a seizure and panic attack whenever he thinks something is going to hit him on the head, and then he asks Mahjong if he is satisfied and happy to see that Gary is disabled and broken like this. Mahjong then holds his hand and says that running away from a falling ball is one thing he is incredibly good at. Mahjong then tells him that he is not trying to use him as a striker. However, he wants a guy who can play a little bit wider, who can detect a dropped ball and can proactively cut off routes and get forward. Mahjong then tells him that he sees him as a guy who can play the role of an inverted fullback and he will turn him into a player who can make more than enough money to eat without taking a heading shot. Gary tells him that he has never played full-back, even in the youth team. However, Mahjong asks him what he thinks of Manchester, the one who found him, raised him and then abandoned him. Gary tells Mahjong that he has spent most of his time playing with Manchester throughout his career, and he also realizes and understands that he has been injured and struggling, so it is only fair that they let him go and give him another chance. Mahjong then gets really excited about this opportunity and says that he really wants to play soccer again with all his passion, even if that team is Bolton, who recently became enemies with his roots and original team, Manchester. After that, Mahjong pulls Gary along with him physically and says that they need to get to training right away, so that Gary can get used to the fullback position and learn how to play it well. Soon, Bolton begins to win matches according to Mahjong's plan and strategy that he set up, and by December month, after 20 rounds of the season are completed, Bolton are not only third place in the league standings, but they are also in the fourth round of the FA Cup tournament. They surprise the entire soccer world with their no-guard, shut-up and attack soccer style of play, ranking first place in team scoring with the most goals and 19th place in team goals allowed, which shows their offensive power. At the same time, Hyung is enjoying his new life as a silver button YouTuber by starting his own channel, Goddamn Dog, and consistently appearing as a joker despite his grumbling. Now, Bolton's FA Cup fourth round opponent is a real powerhouse in the title race with Blue Moon. 2 days before the FA Cup semi-final match between London Armoury and Bolton is scheduled to happen, many people also talk about and remember September 12, 2009, which is an important date. It is said that it was the day when Gadabayor, who had transferred from London Armoury to Manchester Blue Moon, scored a goal against his former team with a wrong-way driving performance right in front of the away fans at Armoury Stadium. At the coach's office located at the Emirates Stadium in London Armoury, the coach Mikel Arteta is sitting quietly in his office thinking about things. Just then, at that moment, London Armoury's captain named Martin arrives in the office and tells the coach that things are a bit relaxed among the team right now, but he feels like the tension has been released ever since they beat Blue Moon in round 8 of the tournament, because the current squad is not made up of the generation that lived through Gadabayor's past atrocities and incidents, so they are unfazed and not bothered by Bolton's provocations and mind games. Martin then asks the coach if that incident is also a thing of the past for him since he was a player back then, so the coach says that he was just eating popcorn at that time and watching the disaster unfold on the field without being involved. The coach says that it is not about the provocation, but they were knocked out of the FA Cup in the fourth round last season by Manchester. He thinks that Bolton is not a team to be underestimated, as they are a goblin team that dominated Manchester in the pre-season, chewed and spit out the league this season. The coach asks what they should do, as there is no such thing as a goblin team anymore and Bolton is clearly a powerhouse outside of the third division. Martin says that they need to keep their heads up and do their best to prepare for the game, and then he leaves the room. The coach then freaks out because Mahjong turns out to be friends with coach Pep Hyung, so now he wants to destroy him thoroughly. The next day, it is the match between Bolton and London Armoury that everyone has been waiting for, and it turns out that Gadabayor is in the starting lineup for Bolton. This is the same player who Mahjong referenced to taunt Armoury before the game by referencing a specific date. The match then begins with Armoury's kickoff to start the game, and Gadabayor immediately takes up his position in front of the Armoury penalty box area to apply pressure. Gadabayor then starts annoying a bunch of players from the other team by getting close to them and asking several questions constantly, so that he can make them lose their focus and concentration on the game. The London Armoury players then complain to the referee that Gadabayor is so loud and distracting them, but the referee tells them clearly that talking is not a foul and is allowed in the game. London Armoury's coach tells his team not to listen to that guy and ignore his words, and he wonders to himself why Gadabayor is talking so much during the match. He thinks to himself that the only reason Gadabayor can talk like that and be so confident is because they are playing almost half-court and controlling possession, but they just need to score one goal to win. To his complete surprise, Gadabayor manages to score a goal for his Bolton team, and the coach wonders why this talking player is the one scoring the goal against them. After that, Gadabayor starts running to the other side of the field, and now, he is recreating the wrong driving celebration after 14 years. Mahjong then quickly substitutes Gadabayor, and the commentator thinks that it might be for safety reasons. Mahjong then gives Gadabayor the car keys and tells him to go home first and get some rest after everything that happened. The game then gets suspended due to a riot breaking out in the stadium, and this is an unprecedented event that nobody expected to happen. Mahjong then tells Hee-won with confidence that everything is going all according to the plan they made, and that today's game is already 90% successful in achieving what they wanted. At the same time, London Armoury's coach sits there and wonders how they managed to lose this match, as it was clearly a one-sided game that was like half-court with them controlling everything. He remembers that Gadabayor kept hanging around in front of the penalty box the entire time during the match, and Owen delivered a long pass from near the halfway line that created the scoring chance perfectly. Moreover, he believes that the defenders were distracted by the constant movement of Changa and Ruff, who had been maneuvering in and out of the box all game long without stopping, as opposed to Gadabayor, who was just wandering around and talking casually without seeming like a threat to them at all. He thinks that Mahjong must have planned this whole thing from the beginning, because he sent Gadabayor home right after the substitution was made and did not keep him around. At the same time, Mahjong notices London's coach on the sideline and tells Hee-won that the coach seems more upset than even the fans in the stands are right now. The soccer game stops for about 15 minutes right after Godabayer scores his goal, and everyone knows it will start again pretty soon. The second half is already over, so now they have to play 20 more minutes of extra time to see who wins. The coach decides to put Quick into the game to take Gabir's spot on the field. Quick is going to play in the middle of the field as a central midfielder, and Owen is moving up front to play as a false striker, which changes how the team plays. At the same time, the other team Armory also makes a change with their players during this important part of the game. Jorginho leaves the field and gives a quick hand slap to the player coming in to replace him before he walks off. Gadebayer, who is the captain of Armory, comes onto the field to take his place. Mahjong sees Gadebayer coming in right away and thinks this means the other team coach is really mad about how things are going in the game. Mahjong looks at everything happening on the field and tries to figure out what the other team can and cannot do well. He decides that Huberts is basically a player who is not very good at moving forward with the ball, especially when you think about his defending ability in the middle area. Mahjong thinks this guy is not something they need to worry about. Instead, they need to pay all their attention to Gadebayer, who is really good at controlling the ball and getting away from players who try to stop him, but he runs pretty slowly compared to most players. Mahjong figures that if his team can block Gadebayer quickly enough, they can stop him from doing anything dangerous. But there is a bigger problem that Mahjong wants to talk about right now. This problem involves a player named Declan Rice, who everyone says is the best defensive midfielder playing in the English Premier League right now. At first, Bolton wants to attack Jonho, who is really terrible at defending, and Armory switches to playing with just one defensive midfielder, who is Rice. This makes Bolton's defense even harder to break through than before. Mahjong knows that whoever wins today depends completely on whether Quick can beat Rice or not, so this battle between these two players is super important. Quick starts moving the ball with his feet in a way that makes everyone dizzy watching it. Quick uses all his personal tricks to take the ball to one side and then switches it really fast to the other side. People watching are excited to see Quick showing off his skills, but then everyone gets shocked by what happens. Declan comes in and takes the ball away from Quick with a good tackle. Quick does not think he is going to lose the ball at that moment. Mahjong right away yells at Frank to stay really close to Salka and guard him carefully. Declan grabs the ball and starts moving it up the field by himself. Mahjong and his helper both look super worried after they watch another guy score that goal against their team. In the 14th minute of extra time, Armory ties up the score, and the Armory coach's face looks determined and serious. Armory shows they are way better skilled on the field, but the fact that they got help from penalties is also true and cannot be ignored. When Rice gets the ball back again, a really good attacking and defending play starts happening on the field, and this becomes especially bad when Gadebayer moves up into attacking positions because Bolton cannot get more defenders than Armory has attackers. Mahjong thinks to himself that Salka is just way too strong, beating Bolton's players easily when it is just 1 against 1 without any trouble. Right after thinking this, Mahjong crosses his pointer fingers together to make a signal, telling Quick and Owen they need to trade places on the field. Mahjong feels really nervous because the way things are going right now, Bolton might lose their lead before the first half even finishes. He thinks he definitely cannot keep using the same tactics that London's coach has already figured out and broken down. Also, if he wants to keep his best weapon working, that player has to stay far away from where Rice is defending. Maybe right now Mahjong is really understanding for the first time just how tough the English Premier League is. On the field, Ben Whitewater has the ball and moves it forward. Peterson is chasing after him. White also moves up at this moment, and Armory only has Rice and their two main defenders protecting the goal. The empty space in the middle of the field is way too obvious. Frank and David are both midfielders who made it onto the FA Cup Team of the Week last week. Bolton's players are going up against midfielders who play at the level of the English Premier League and Champions League, so Bolton's guys need to push themselves as hard as they can. Mahjong thinks that if they win this game, it will give everyone huge motivation. When halftime arrives, everyone in Bolton gathers quickly in the locker room. Mahjong rushes to talk about strategy with all his players. He tells them that as soon as the second half starts, Owen will be taken out, and Gary will come in to replace him. Suddenly David jumps up from his seat and disagrees, saying that taking Owen out when they need more attacking options does not make sense, especially because they need to score goals from free kicks. Right away, Mahjong asks how many fouls Changa got called for in the first half. Changa answers that he got 0 fouls. Mahjong shouts at the best player on their team that he has not gotten even 1 foul, so where will any free kick come from? The Armory players control fouls really carefully. Rice has dominated the entire middle and attacking area of Bolton, making their tactics impossible to work. Mahjong thinks about using Owen as a deep playmaker who can work in multiple areas, but that will not work. So instead that job goes to the second best free kick taker on the team, who is Zeke, and Gary takes over the right back position. Mahjong tells all the players that if they have the ball and are dribbling, they should try to stay away from player number 41 on the other team, because he is a very dangerous guy. Then Mahjong puts his hand on top of Quick's head and says he is not allowed to avoid that player. The main way they play today will not change. Quick plays striker instead of Owen and does the original plan, which makes Quick feel worried about having to avoid Rice. Mahjong orders Quick not to run away but instead to break through and beat Rice using his personal skills. Later, Mahjong gets down on his knees and tells Quick that only a few defenders in the entire world can completely beat Quick in a situation where it is 1 against 1. Mahjong picks up his pen. Then he points the pen straight at Quick's face, saying that if he gets past Rice this one time, Bolton will definitely win the game today. Quick is dribbling on the field right now while Dig guards the goal area and watches him carefully. This is the 4th time Quick and Dig face each other during this match. So far in all their encounters, Dig wins absolutely every single time without fail. As he runs with the ball, Quick thinks to himself that he cannot do a flip-flap move on the left side and he also cannot do a Marcella turn on the right side, and there is no chance to do a feint move either. If that is the case, Quick decides he will use more dribbling moves to try to get past his opponent somehow. Rice suddenly appears right in front of Quick on the field and blocks his path. Quick feels stunned because Rice can actually keep up with his quick movements, and now he faces Rice standing right in front of him. Quick gives up the idea of taking on Rice directly and passes the ball to the right side instead of a teammate. Some people wonder why Quick does not try to shoot at the goal from that good distance but chooses to pass backward instead. But Mahjong thinks that the Armory coach is worried that Rice can block the ball easily if Quick shoots. So Quick has to reduce his attacking range to stay safe and keep possession. Mahjong still believes strongly that if Quick tries a few more times he can break through Rice's tough defense successfully. He feels surprised that Mahjong chooses the safe path with clear analysis of the situation instead of taking risks. But now he believes completely in the players and expects victory will come from a bit of luck. The Bolton coach's belief right now is placed entirely on Quick to deliver the results they need. Another goal suddenly happens on the field and changes everything. The ball is shot straight into the net with power and precision. It is Bukayo Saka who scores for Armory. He scores the comeback goal with his left-footed curler shot that bends beautifully. Mahjong regrets deeply that Peterson and Gareth switched their positions too late to stop the attack. But for some reason that nobody understands, even after scoring that important goal, the Armory coach is still very tense and serious looking on the sideline. He clenches his teeth again with visible anger showing on his face. He is thinking hard about what Mahjong does during the halftime break earlier in the locker room. As soon as the second half starts on the field, Mahjong replaces one player with someone else to change tactics. The Armory coach sees Quick's movement as very outstanding and impressive to watch. He thinks Quick is just a good dribbler who plays in lower leagues before coming here. But when Quick clashes with Dig repeatedly during the match, his feet get faster and faster each time they meet. His current form is no less skilled than that of the outstanding players in the English Premier League in past years. Quick is still holding the ball and moving forward with purpose. Quick dribbles past another defender with his technical skills and quick feet. The Armory coach thinks to himself that they need to defend better right now against these attacks. They need to tighten the defense in the middle of the field immediately to stop Bolton. Mahjong observes the Armory coach carefully from the sideline and discovers something important in his reactions. He thinks this is the perfect opportunity for his team to attack and score. Quick is taking the ball closer and closer to the opponent's goal area with each touch. Quick's face is completely full of determination and focus on what he needs to do. Quick thinks to himself that he has shown almost all the skills he has in his arsenal today. So now, how will he deal with Rice this time around when they face each other again? He closes his eyes for a moment and remembers the conversation in the locker room during halftime. He asks Coach Mahjong what would happen if he cannot get past Rice successfully in the match. Quick says that he feels that when facing Rice on the field, no matter what technique he uses, he cannot seem to get past him at all no matter how hard he tries. He says that if there is really no suitable technique to deal with Rice at important moments, the team will lose the match because of him and his failure to perform. Then Quick feels surprised when he sees his coach say something unexpected about using whatever strategy is the coolest if there is no suitable technique that works. Mahjong advises Quick that if he feels that nothing works against Rice's defense, he should use the coolest move he knows, the one that everyone will admire and remember forever. Mahjong says he believes completely in Quick's feet and his abilities to do something special, and thinking of this conversation and his coach's faith in him, Quick's eyes light up. He takes the ball to the right side first with his movement, and this makes Dig easily recognize the pattern of movement that Quick usually uses. Quick's eyes still shine with determination and sharp focus on his goal ahead. The ball is under his right foot at this moment as he approaches. Suddenly, he crosses the ball to the left in a flash. Both Dig and the Armory coach feel surprised by this creative move. It is the hocus-pocus skill being used, a dribbling technique that uses feints to pass the opponent successfully and leave them behind. Mahjong and Hee-won feel very happy and excited to see that Quick has finally overcome Dig's strong defense after failing before. At this exact time, both Changa and Ruff are also running at breakneck speed toward the goal from different angles. They enter the play from both sides of the field to support Quick's attack. Quick takes a finishing shot toward the goal to try to score. The ball hits the head of an opposing player hard and gets knocked aside off its intended course. The Armory goalkeeper tries desperately to reach out and catch the ball with his hands, but Ruff is there in time to hit the ball with his face accidentally as it comes toward him. The ball flies back into the goal and straight into the net, successfully past the keeper. Then the ball slowly bounces out again from the net, and Ruff scores the goal for Bolton. It is a lucky goal that nobody expects to happen like this. The defender and goalkeeper both try to clear the ball's path, but the ball hits Ruff's face and goes into the net anyway despite their efforts. Mahjong and Hee-won feel excited about this development in the match. Mahjong says that he has been waiting for this exact moment for a long time to see this. It is finally time for Quick, who he calls the Dodgeball King, to show his special skills that make him unique. The Armory coach also wonders why Quick aims at player Gabriel instead of aiming at the goal itself like a normal striker would. He thinks that since Quick is known as a poor shooter who cannot finish well, could his real purpose be to score with luck by bouncing the ball off players into the goal? After thinking about this strange possibility, he clenches his teeth again with frustration at being outsmarted, his face turning red with anger and embarrassment at the situation. He then tells the captain to tell everyone on the team not to confront Bolton's number 5 player directly in challenges but only block his path to the ball, and not to care too much about shots that are far from the goal area because they probably will not go in. The Armory captain follows the instructions carefully and tells his teammates exactly what to do going forward. Now Quick is once again advancing forward to the center of the field with the ball. This time around, Dig keeps his distance and defends more carefully without committing too early. Quick slows down his pace as Dig retreats backward to maintain the gap between them. Quick comes close to the goal now, but he does not dare try to finish the shot yet because the angle is not right. Quick kicks the ball up lightly into the air in front of him. Then he runs forward very quickly with explosive speed to chase after it. Quick remembers clearly what Gabe Bayer tells him during training about keeping the instep and top of the foot straight and then kicking hard through the ball. Quick shoots the ball powerfully into the center of the goal with all his strength. In a flashback to training, Mahjong asks Gabe Bayer about how Quick's training is going. Gabe Bayer tells him that Quick's performance is still hit or miss, but it is getting better now. Quick tries shooting directly at the goal during practice. Mahjong wants to know what the accuracy rate is when Quick kicks like that, but Gabe Bayer says right away that it is 100% accurate when he practices. Mahjong feels surprised and does not believe this is actually true. Gabe Bayer explains that when Quick is dribbling or facing defenders in real games, his ability to make an accurate shot will be much worse than in practice. Back to the present, Quick is still thinking about what Gabe Bayer tells him during training. He shoots straight into the center of the goal with confidence in his technique, but both Dig and the Armory coach look worried about what will happen next. The ball touches Dig's foot as he tries to block it from going in. Then it flies straight into the goal past him anyway. The ball that Dig blocks creates a great flight path and scores a miraculous goal that nobody expects. Quick is also surprised by this goal being successful despite the deflection. His teammates quickly ran over to celebrate the goal with Quick on the field. The Armory captain blames Dig and asks why he still cares about blocking shots from far away from the goal. Dig replies right away that it was a highly accurate kick that he had to try to stop. The captain feels surprised and asks if it was really that accurate from that distance. After that, Armory substitutes 2 players at the same time to change things. The Armory coach shouts for Jesus to pay close attention to their positions, and he asks everyone to block well so Bolton does not push into dangerous areas. Mahjong and Hee-won feel confused by the Armory coach's expressions and reactions right now. After that substitution happens, Huberts brings the game back to level by switching positions with Jesus and scoring with a header into the net. Mahjong shouts the word quarterback loudly so everyone can hear. Everyone in Bolton quickly gets into their positions for the play. Hearing this call, the Armory coach thinks back that this is the same tactic that Bolton uses to counterattack right after conceding goals, and saying the tactic's name out loud could be a trap to confuse them, but they still have to be prepared for it anyway. The Armory coach orders Martin to retreat back and prepare to block the opposing wingers from advancing. Whitewater blocks Delicate's ball on the field before he can do anything. The blocked ball quickly passed forward from the midfield area. Hitz passes the ball forward to a teammate in space. The ball is passed to Jesus on the wing where he has room. Jesus with very good technique starts dribbling the ball past defenders. He dribbles past Dominic successfully with his skills. He shoots the ball hard and it goes in again to score. Armory takes the lead once more in this back and forth match. Bolton still uses the quarterback tactic as their base strategy. The Armory coach freezes again because he realizes something different is happening this time. Delicate and Changa on Bolton run to the center instead of running out on the wing like before. Martin cannot keep up with Changa's speed as he cuts inside. It is too late for the players from the wing to run in and help defend. If this keeps happening, Armory will lack defenders in the middle of the field. Dig thinks that behind him there are 2 center backs who can help. He just needs to block the most dangerous situation, and it will be okay for now. Changa passes the ball to Locke in the middle, but Dig blocks the ball just in time with his positioning. At this exact moment, the ball flies straight to Quick's feet by accident. The 6th confrontation between Quick and Dig happens right now on the field. Quick's nimble feet start dribbling the ball with great skill and control. Dig's eyes widen in surprise at what Quick does next. Quick makes Dig freeze in place with a great feint move that tricks him. He gets past Dig successfully this time after failing before. The number of attacking players far exceeds the number of defending players on the field now. So now Quick only needs a few more passes to score easily with his teammates. But that is not what Quick wants to do today at this moment. Then he shoots the ball toward the goal instead of passing. Goalkeeper Ramsdale tries to save the ball with his hands. The ball hits the post hard and bounces back out into play. The rebounding ball lands right in front of Changa in space. Changa takes a volley shot immediately without hesitation. The ball hits an Armory player and deflects into the net past the keeper. Player William Saliba scores his own goal for Bolton by accident. Armory receives an unexpected result that shocks everyone. The Armory coach also feels very shocked by this turn of events. The official 90 minutes of the match have ended now. There are 3 minutes of added time remaining to play. The Armory coach thinks that if it ends as a draw, they will have to play a second match on Bolton's field next time. The Champions League schedule is packed full of games, so that it is impossible to fit in. In this situation right now, they must make the most of the added time and apply pressure with their skill advantage over Bolton. Mahjong also thinks that if it ends as a draw, they will have to replay the match at home. Since Quick's skills have been fully shown today, the chances of winning in the replay are very low for Bolton. Therefore, Mahjong asks the players to push strongly and take control of the ball at all costs in these final minutes. Armory is advancing forward while slowly moving the ball around carefully. Armory's number 29 faces a Bolton player who is very good at fighting for the ball physically. So, he cannot risk trying to dribble past this defender and lose possession. He passes the ball to Martin for safety instead, but Martin feels horrified when a Bolton player is running up very quickly from behind him. It is Locke coming in fast to press. Locke has retreated back to the midfield and is applying pressure now. He wins the ball from Martin with a strong tackle. Then Delicate passes the ball forward to Quick up front in space. Quick faces an Armory player directly in his path, blocking the way. The player thinks Quick is aiming at him with the shot like before. If he dodges out of the way, the ball will go out of bounds safely. He immediately jumps aside to avoid getting hit, but this time Quick passes the ball low instead of shooting. The Armory player feels angry because he dodged for nothing and looks foolish. Changa is running up into space now with the ball at his feet. He thinks his shooting accuracy today is very bad throughout the match. He is not Kane, who scores easily from any position. It is impossible to score successfully when being defended by multiple players. Then Changa dives down to try to get a penalty kick from the referee. He falls to the ground in pain from contact. At that exact moment, the ball hits his head accidentally and flies straight into the net behind the goalkeeper. Changa looks up surprised and sees that the ball is in the net somehow. Bolton players feel very happy with this lucky goal while the Armory coach is shouting angrily at his team. The match ends with the final whistle blowing and the final score is 4-5 with Bolton winning the match. In the fourth round of the FA Cup competition, Bolton won Armory's home field against all odds. Mahjong and Hee-won collapse on the bench after the final whistle. They have finally won this difficult match. Hee-won tells Mahjong to go shake hands with the opposing coach and leave quickly before anything happens. Seeing the terrifying appearance of the Armory coach across the field, Mahjong does not dare to shake hands at first, but in the end he still approaches London's coach. He praises London's coach for being very wonderful as a coach, but London's coach looks up at Mahjong with interest. Mahjong is worried when he sees his dark face staring at him. London's coach shouts and asks what manager February said exactly, making Mahjong afraid of his reaction. Mahjong stammers nervously, replying that manager February praised London's coach as a very excellent coach, so Mahjong had to prepare well for this match. There were many things to learn from London's coach's tactics. February also said that London's coach was both a disciple and a younger brother he loved very much like family. Hearing this information, London's coach smiles slightly for the first time today. He takes Mahjong's hand in his own and talks to Mahjong with a friendly and happy face now. Then he pats Mahjong on the shoulder while smiling brightly at him. He goes inside the tunnel with great happiness visible on his face. London's coach is happy to know that manager February still praises and remembers him after all this time. Mahjong also finds his expression puzzling after being so angry before. After the Armory match ends, the media rushes to publish articles related to the Armory match result. There is fervor unmatched by the victory against Manchester New earlier in the season. Unlike Manchester New, Bolton had won against the strongest team in the English Premier League this time. As interest in the team grows rapidly, they achieve recognition in unexpected areas such as being called the unluckiest team or having the most sought-after coach. At this moment in his office, Mahjong is sitting and watching special polls about his team online. Suddenly there is a knock on the door that interrupts his reading. Ryan wants to discuss the Northampton tactics with Mahjong for the next match. Ryan stammers as if he has something important to say to the coach. He mentions that Mahjong had once told him to try analyzing tactics at Bolton for 3 months and then Mahjong would let him meet Mad, the famous analyst. Now Mahjong remembers making that promise to Ryan. Then Mahjong hands Ryan his phone to look at. On the screen is an anonymous account named Mad that Ryan recognizes. Mahjong then leaves the room quietly to give Ryan privacy. Now only Ryan stands silently in the room alone with his thoughts. Thoughts race through his head about this revelation he just learned. He is deeply moved to finally meet Mad after wanting to for so long, but the coach looked at his tactical abilities first before revealing this. He is happy that he has been recognized by Mad as someone talented, but he still hesitates about something regarding the coach being Mad himself. Time passes quickly, and before anyone knows it, the 38th round of the league has ended in March. Bolton gains momentum by seizing the win against Armory, advancing without hesitation through the season, and is now ranked second in the league standings. In the FA Cup competition, they also defeated Leicester Vulpes of the EFL Championship in the 5th round easily, advancing to the quarterfinals of the tournament. Because this is the most achievement they have ever made in club history, people are excited. Even though they have quietly passed the winter transfer market with 0 signings coming in, they are not heavily criticized by fans or media. The reason they can pass through the winter transfer market quietly is because all the players complete the schedule without injury problems. At this moment, Owen is lifting weights in the gym, and while doing push-ups on the floor, he thinks about his recent activity rate of only 6 kilometers per game, while the captain or Frank run 13 kilometers per game on average. While Owen is training hard, Changa peeks into the room looking for someone. Changa is looking for Gadebayer in the facility. Suddenly Gadebayer appears right behind Changa out of nowhere, startling Changa badly. Gadebayer asks why Changa is following Owen around the building. Changa says he hears that Gadebayer is doing special training sessions, so he is curious and comes to find him. Gadebayer immediately invites Changa to follow him to see what he does. Gadebayer puts his arm around Changa's shoulder in a friendly way. Changa is really looking forward to the special training of the world-famous player, but at this moment he is surprised by what he sees. Gadebayer is swimming in the lake doing laps back and forth. Changa is led to the swimming pool area, and it turns out to be swimming training because Mahjong thinks no exercise is better for increasing physical strength than swimming laps. He-Won wonders if Gadebayer, who is always joking around with everyone, really needs to increase his physical strength at his age, but Gadebayer wants to play full-time in matches now. He has become ambitious after playing and receiving positive feedback from fans. Mahjong says that the decision to retire was only because no team could handle his declining stamina before, and perhaps deep down Gadebayer still wants to continue playing professionally. Meanwhile, the most amazing event of the season is waiting, and a man is sitting and watching a Bolton soccer game on the computer screen. He turns off the screen and thinks that Bolton is indeed a team outside the EFL 1 standard level. They are especially dangerous in a single match format. Even though they have been relegated in the EFL Championship before, they have defeated Leicester Vulpes, the FA Cup champions, just 4 seasons ago, very miserably. He thinks he cannot let his guard down against them and has to prepare thoroughly for the match, and this man is the replacement coach of Manchester named Marco Pantorak. At the Manchester New Hellion home stadium called Young Devils, in their conference room, Marco stands up and says that the former coach was dismissed and fired after the loss to Bolton and a series of inconsistent performances throughout the season, but they overcame that crisis and difficult time and built the team back stronger than before. He further tells the team clearly that they really need to win this quarter-final match and show everyone that they are still a force to be reckoned with and respected. He then tells the team to be very careful about getting injuries or dealing with special circumstances with the squad during the A-match period when players leave for national teams. After the meeting ends and everyone leaves, Marco thinks to himself that now that Bolton has revealed Quick's long-range shot ability as a weapon, there are probably no more secret weapons left for them to use against Manchester, and Bolton is likely going to try to drag the match out to a penalty shootout to win that way. At Bolton's conference room, Mahjong tells the team that Manchester's old coach was dismissed and fired because his reliance on the players was exposed and became obvious to everyone, but the truth is that Manchester's main guy and real leader has always been the acting coach named Marco. Mahjong further goes on to say that the most terrifying thing about Manchester is that they never underestimate the weak teams and always take everyone seriously, but He-Won tries to interrupt and say that Bolton can easily win against them without much trouble. However, Mahjong tells him firmly that they are going to face Manchester head-on in direct combat, which surprises everyone in the room who hears this. Mahjong tells them all that they have analyzed Manchester's game footage very carefully, studying their tactics down to the very last detail and every single movement. He thinks to himself that Manchester are getting stronger with each match, so Bolton is going to use various tricks again to confuse them, but they will drop the defensive line and play it that way instead. He then explains clearly that their key point in this match is the 30 minutes of extra time before the penalty shootout happens, and the only advantage they have over Manchester is their stamina, so they have to drag the game into extra time period, where Manchester down physically and then take their shot at victory when the opponents are tired. However, He-Won notices that Mahjong has been bleeding from his nose constantly and asks if he is alright, but he replies that 'tis because his stamina is poor. The next day, it's officially the match between Manchester and Bolton, and Manchester's coach tells his team to stay focused. He explains that the dismissal of earlier coach can be traced back to the preseason defeat against Bolton. On the other hand, Mahjong tells his team clearly that after Bolton wiped out Manchester in that friendly match, Manchester even fired their coach from the shame of it, and their team went downhill from there. He also tells his team that they are having one of the best seasons ever right now with their performance, and if they lose this match, all they will hear from people is that they put up a good fight but it was not enough. He then tries to encourage and motivate the team by telling them that they have to defeat Manchester no matter what happens in this game. After that speech, the players from both teams enter the field to start the match and Mahjong thinks that they have got an upper hand in this situation, but he asks Hee-won why he brought so many people with him to watch. Hee-won tells him back that he did that on purpose because it is going to encourage the players to perform better when they see support from the crowd. The match begins with Changga dominating the midfield early on, which makes Mahjong think that Changga's main strength lies in pass cutting and pressing, which is quite effective. However, his dribbling isn't great, so when they drop back, there's no way he can break through. Changga does a very blatant defensive approach which gets the ball out of the field. However, Ruff steals the throw-in and Mahjong thinks that if the two fastest players on their team keep the ball secure like that, at least they can disrupt the opponent's midfield build-up. Mahjong thinks that if the midfield build-up is blocked, Manchester will target the wings, and even with two lines of defense, the left and right, so the other team's coach must already know which side is weaker. After that, Manchester's player, Santoni, is attacking the right side, but Peterson from Bolton is waiting desperately for him. Peterson thinks that it's exactly like the coach said, if the midfield is blocked, they will target the weakest defensive side, but he believes that he is not going to go down with a fight. However, Santoni easily bypasses Peterson and ignores another player at the same time. He then realizes that his ball is missing and it turns out Changga is the one who stole it. Seeing that, Manchester's coach thinks to himself that Changga is running like a complete madman, as if he might have done track and field athletics before in his life. He thinks that no matter how good Changga's stamina is and how fit he stays, if he keeps running around like that for the full 120 minutes of the match, he is definitely going to get injured at some point. The coach decides to mess up Mahjong's plan a bit and throw him off, because Mahjong is hiding some dangerous and talented players on the bench waiting, but he is not doing a substitution anytime soon. After that decision is made, Manchester's players advance forward together on the attack and everyone watching wonders if Bolton is giving up the midfield battle completely and letting them through. The Manchester player then shoots the ball toward the goal with power, but it gets intercepted by Biggs, who blocks it, and the ball gets to Ruff instead. At this moment, Manchester's midfield is completely empty with no one covering, and the defense is completely open to a counterattack. Ruff then runs with the ball, but he remembers that the coach told him it's a trap and the key is to pass the ball to Changga near the box. He then passes the ball to Changga, but another team's player comes out first to block it. Due to this, Changga falls on the ground, but no card is given because it's outside the box. Bolton then gets a free kick position and Gary are getting ready to take the kick. Earlier, Mahjong told everyone on the team that all free kicks against Manchester will be handled by Gary, who is their fourth choice kicker and not their best choice. Back in the present, Gary shoots the ball with all his strength, but the Manchester goalkeeper manages to save it and stop the goal, but Mahjong still tries to encourage Gary by saying it was a solid shot and he did well. After that attempt, Ruff prepares himself for the corner kick that Bolton was awarded, and just like during the free kick before, Bolton's 8-man defense has not moved from their positions at all. Earlier in the team meeting, Mahjong told the team clearly that Ruff will take all the corner kicks during the match, but they should not think of it as a regular cross into the box. Mahjong tells Ruff directly that he wants him to score a goal just like he did in the first match against Wigan earlier in the season. Back in the present moment, Ruff shoots the ball from the corner with technique, but Changga thinks to himself that its trajectory might be too high up in the air, so he jumps into the air and tries to kick it toward the goal, but the goalkeeper catches it cleanly before he can do anything with it. At that moment, Mahjong suddenly starts losing his vision and everything goes dark and he falls down on the ground. Earlier, Hee-won tells Emma that Mahjong has been getting nosebleeds every 3 hours consistently, but no matter how many times he tells Mahjong to rest and take a break, he just will not listen to anyone. He tells Emma to join them for this match and be there, because if Mahjong has to leave the field for medical reasons, she should stop him from coming back and make sure he stays away. Back in the present, the referee stops the match temporarily, and Mahjong is being transported to the hospital by the medical team who are taking care of him. Hee-won then tells the team players that they just have to finish the first half of the match following Mahjong's instructions that he already gave them, since he probably passed out from overworking himself too much. However, Ryan gets angry and blames Hee-won for everything that happened and says that if Hee-won had come up with better strategies sooner and helped more, Mahjong would not have had to push himself this far and work so hard that he collapsed on the field. Hearing that, Hee-won gets really mad and yells back at him loudly, saying that this is not the time to blame himself for what happened because right now Ryan is the only one who can take over for Mahjong and lead the team. Ryan gets confused and does not understand what Hee-won means by that statement. Hee-won then asks Ryan a question about how many games they have played this season using the tactics and strategies that Ryan proposed and came up with himself. Ryan answers and says that they have played 30 games using his tactics, so Hee-won responds and says that Ryan is a strategist who created 30 different tactics that were approved by Mahjong himself, and without Ryan's help and contributions, Mahjong would have collapsed 30 games earlier than he did today. After that, the match continues and keeps going with the ball being passed to Manchester's player on the field. Peterson tries his very best to snatch the ball away and steal it, but Santoni shakes him off easily with his narrow shoulders and quick movement. Quick also tries his very best to block Santoni and stop his advance down the field, but Santoni tries to break through the defense anyway and ends up falling down on the ground instead of succeeding. The referee then blows the whistle and calls for a foul against Quick and Bolton, but Quick tries to tell the referee and argue that he did not even touch Santoni at all during the play. Brandon from Manchester then gets ready and sets up for the free kick opportunity they just earned, but Ryan quickly gets worried and panicked and says that they have to stop Gayson Gount from getting the ball no matter what. Brandon then passes the ball over to Gayson Gount, who is in a better position, and Gayson then shoots the ball with power, and it goes flying straight towards the goalkeeper who is waiting. The goalkeeper tries his very best to catch the straight ball that is coming at him with speed, but he completely misses the ball and it falls back down on the ground in front of the goal. Another Manchester player sees this and takes this as a perfect opportunity, and he quickly shoots the ball into the goal before anyone can react and stop him. The commentator says that the solid defense that Bolton had crumbled and fell apart just a few minutes after Mahjong left the game and was taken away. They also think and say that Mahjong's absence seems to have had a really significant impact on Bolton's teamwork and how they play together on the field. One of the Bolton players thinks to himself that this situation is really bad, because Mahjong said earlier that if they conceded the first goal to the other team, he would give them specific instructions depending on the situation they were in. Seeing what is happening on the field, Hee-won turns to Ryan and asks him if he noticed something strange or important from Gount's movements just now during that play. Hee-won tells Ryan that from now on and going forward, if he sees something important, he should not just mumble it to himself quietly, but he should speak it up loudly so everyone can hear. Hee-won then wonders to himself that the team's morale and energy is way too low right now, and they really need to lift their spirits and motivation to keep playing well. He then asks Ryan to tell him what they should do next, because they cannot stick to the same tactics when they are one goal behind in the score, and they cannot believe that as soon as Mahjong left the field, the team regressed to how it was under their old coach Derek Scott's poor leadership. After that, the second half begins with Manchester and Bolton both ready to play, and Bolton immediately deploys their main striker named Owen onto the field as the second half kicks off. Manchester's coach thinks that it is really noticeable and obvious that Mahjong's presence is missing from the sideline, with Owen, who is usually stationed in the box area, now in an awkward position that does not make sense. He further observes that the two-line defense formation shown in the first half has also changed to a more traditional formation, with Delicate moving into the midfield position instead. So, at this rate they might actually be looking forward to adding more goals to their lead, but the coach believes that it is a bit pitiful considering the vengeance and revenge they were hoping to get against Bolton today. Owen then gets the ball at his feet and he hesitates for a moment, having trouble finding a good place to pass the ball to his teammates. He quickly shoots the ball and scores an incredible goal that surprises everyone watching the match. Earlier during halftime, Hee-won and Ryan told the team that they have to produce a solid plan for the second half of the match. Victor tells Hee-won that their team was all about Mahjong's influence and leadership, so in this difficult situation, what can this weak tactical analyst like Ryan even do to help them win? He further asks everyone on the team if they are really going to be sad and upset about losing to a first division team like Manchester, since they only got this far in the season thanks to the coach Mahjong, so they should stop acting like they are world-class players who deserve better. Gadabayor then asks everyone in the room if all the amazing things that Bolton were doing and accomplishing were only because they were acting like Mahjong's little puppets who just followed orders without thinking. He says that he now understands why Mahjong passed out with a nosebleed on the field, because he carried this entire team to second place in the league and the quarterfinals of the cup tournament with these trash players who cannot do anything on their own. Hearing those harsh words come out of Gadabayor's mouth, Ruff gets really furious and angry at him for saying that. However, another player tells Ruff to stop and calm down, because everything that Gadabayor said was right and true about their situation and abilities. He then asks everyone in the locker room if they are really only this good at playing and if they are nothing but second-rate players without their coach leading them, and if that is true, then what was the point of all brutal training they did until now? He further tells the team that Bolton was always a team that was supposed to lose every match they played, and the fact that they have developed a winning mentality over time, to the point where they are feeling down on their luck after being just one goal behind against a first division team like Manchester, is actually something to be really proud of and celebrate. Hearing that, Kane also gets encouraged and he says confidently that he will carry the team on his back, so they should just wait and watch what he can do on the field. After that speech happens, everyone gets their motivation back and decides to give their 100% effort for the rest of the match. Ryan then says to the team that they should not let it show to Manchester that they have regained their fighting spirit like this so strongly, and they should come back onto the field with the same defeated tension and body language they had when they returned to the locker room after the first half ended. Ryan then tells everyone to give him their best tactical response and suggestions about what options they have available, and he will choose the best combination of tactics to use against Manchester. Back in the present, Manchester's coach thinks to himself that Bolton just got lucky and tied the game up, but Manchester will close up their defense again and protect their lead. He also realizes that Owen is completely useless in a situation like this one, where Bolton drops the defensive line like that, but another opportunity will come for Manchester soon enough. Owen then takes another powerful shot at the goal, but this time the goalkeeper manages to block it and save it successfully, and everyone cannot believe that such powerful shots are coming from that far distance away. After that, the match continues with Owen intercepting the pass from a Manchester player, and he immediately tosses the ball over to Ruff, who is ready. Owen rushes forward with the ball, and he is so incredibly fast that the other team's players cannot keep up with his speed at all. At the same time, Manchester's coach turns and tells Anderson that he is going in as a substitute player, but Bolton also makes a substitution at the same time, with Delicate coming off and Keane going in. Earlier during halftime, Ryan told Keane that it is highly likely that the one assigned to Mark Owen will be the strong individual defender named Sofiane Acrobat, who is good at defense. However, once Owen starts moving around with his speed, Acrobat, with his slower pace and running ability, will likely be substituted and taken out of the game. In that case, when it happens, Bolton will substitute Delicate and bring in Keane as well, and with Keane's control and technical ability, the marking and defensive pressure will likely be spread out more across the field. Back in the present time, Keane used his skills and dribbling ability to get past Gaunt and beat him. Keane then makes a quick and accurate pass to Owen, who shoots immediately at the goal, but Martinez from Manchester blocks the shot and saves it. Ruff then gets control of the ball after it bounces away, and he is getting ready to take the corner kick for Bolton. Earlier, Ryan told his team that they will keep trying the corner kick strategy until the 70-minute mark of the match. Back in the present, Ruff thinks to himself that looking at the time on the clock, this will probably be his last corner kick attempt of the game. However, he thinks that he cannot leave the field having contributed less than Keane did, and if that is the case, at least he will create a decisive moment before he gets substituted out of the game. Ruff then shoots the ball with a curve towards the goal area, but the goalkeeper punches it away with his fists, which makes Ruff really furious and frustrated with the result. The commentator says and points out that Ruff kept sending crosses really close to the goal area throughout the match, so it looks like he was actually aiming for a corner shot directly into the net. Gaunt then receives the ball that the goalkeeper punched away and clears, and he tries to advance forward with it, but he is blocked and stopped by another Bolton player who gets in his way. Ruff then wonders to himself that since his last corner kick attempt was blocked and did not work, he will probably be substituted out too very soon, so this next play is going to be his last play of the match. After that moment happens, Bolton makes a substitution change and Ruff is subbed off and replaced by Kane coming in, and Garras is also replaced by Johnson, who enters the game. At the same time and moment, Manchester also makes a substitution as they are pulling Ashford off the field and bringing on Carmichael to play instead. Ashford has been performing poorly today, that's why at this moment he's being showered with boos. Manchester thinks that unlike the first half where they were dominating, now it's becoming a back-and-forth counterattack situation. They think that with Owen dropping to the top, Changa's defensive range has returned, as starting from a lower position and disrupting the build-up is making it hard to attack. After that, the ball gets to Quick, who has possession, and then Quick gets replaced by Johnson, who comes in as a substitute. Seeing that substitution, Manchester's coach thinks to himself that something feels off and strange about Bolton's tactics, but their tactical flexibility is absolutely incredible and impressive. He notices and realizes that Bolton's response to his tactics and strategies is really impressive, as there are quite a few tactical cards and plans that have become completely useless in the second half of the match. At this moment in time, the coach realizes and understands that Bolton is not the team that can be pitted for losing their leader Mahjong, and Manchester cannot let themselves be dragged into Bolton's game plan any more than they already have. Manchester then makes two substitutions at once, with Gaunt and Lindström both coming off the field, and Shaw and Centomani both coming on to play instead. The ball then gets to Anderson, who quickly passes it over to Centomani to continue the play and keep the attack going, but Centomani then returns the ball back to Anderson, who passes it forward to Fernandes, who is waiting in a good position. Seeing that, Hewan and Ryan both shout out loudly that if it is Fernandes who has the ball, he might just take the shot himself instead of passing, and Bolton needs to be alert and ready in all directions around the goal. The ball then gets to Carmichael, who quickly shoots a powerful volley shot at the goal, but the goalkeeper manages to block the shot and save it from going in. However, Anderson then runs straight towards the goal area while everyone is distracted, and he quickly shoots the ball inside the net to score another goal for Manchester. On the other hand, Hewan and Ryan notice that Changa seems really exhausted from all the running. They ask Changa directly if he is tired and needs to come out, but he replies back that no matter how hard it gets or how much his body hurts, he is still the fastest player on the field and can keep going. Afterwards, it starts raining really hard on the field, and Kane tells his teammate that his kicks have been on point and accurate today so far. The guy replies back to Kane that his shot was not powerful enough then to score a goal. He then tells Kane to take this kick instead and let him try, so Kane says confidently that he will show him something special and impressive. Kane then quickly shoots a powerful shot at the goal, but the goalkeeper punches it away with his fists, so it just rebounds and bounces towards Changa, who shoots again immediately. The goalkeeper blocks that shot too and saves it. At that exact moment, Gadabeya runs forward from behind and manages to score a goal by putting the rebound in the net, and with that goal Bolton equalizes the score right before the whistle blows to end regulation time. The second half then ends with the score tied, and Ryan tells everyone in the huddle that the play unfolded a bit differently than they planned, but in any case, they have managed to drag the match into extra time as they planned and wanted. However, he says to the team that they cannot rely on overwhelming Manchester with stamina and energy anymore, because Bolton only has one substitution card left to use and Manchester has 2 substitution cards remaining. He explains to everyone that they will return to using the tactics from the first half that worked well, but they will increase the number of attacks and offensive plays they make. At the same time, somewhere else, Emma is watching the match on television in the hospital room, and Bolton seems to be holding out and waiting for a penalty shootout to decide the winner. Then suddenly, Manchester gets a free kick in a really good position near Bolton's goal, and Fernandes will be the one taking the shot for them. He then shoots the ball with power and accuracy, but Dominic manages to hit it away using his head to clear it, and the ball gets to Gary, who is leading the charge forward like the Pied Piper with all of Bolton running hot on his trails behind him. Changa then joins the attacking formation faster than anyone else on the team, and he thinks to himself that they have got the advantage in numbers over Manchester's defenders right now. So, if he creates more space and waits for Kane to get into position, then they could definitely do something special and score a goal to win the match. Suddenly, Changa notices Carmacho running behind him like an enraged wolf chasing its prey, and Carmacho easily intercepts Changa's path, shutting down the counterattack completely. The ball then gets to Martinez, who controls it, and he then launches a long pass immediately forward to restart Manchester's attack. Carmacho and Changa are both leading the charge in this counterattack, going in opposite directions, and everyone watching is excited and on the edge of their seats to see what the outcome of this match is going to be. However, the ball lands in a puddle of water on the field and does not bounce at all like it normally would, so both Carmacho and Changa overrun it and go past the spot where it stopped completely. Anderson quickly runs forward to steal the ball and take advantage of the mistake that just happened, but Changa gets furious and determined not to let that happen, and he runs past everyone with full energy and speed that seems impossible. He shoots the shot with everything he has and all his remaining strength, but Manchester's goalkeeper manages to deflect the shot away with his hands and save it from going into the net successfully. However, because of that incredible effort, Changa gets a hamstring injury in his leg because he sprinted at inhuman speeds through a downpour of rain on the wet field. Bolton then gets a corner kick opportunity, all because of Changa's sacrifice and amazing effort to keep the play alive. Gary takes off his protective headgear and steps into the penalty box area to help with the corner kick attempt. Seeing what is happening on the field, the other team's coach thinks to himself that it is impossible to overcome Gary's PTSD and trauma in such a short amount of time like this. But if it is true that he has overcome it, then the coach thinks that this is either a reckless act in the heat of the final attack moments, or it is a bluff that Mahjong had pre-planned and set up to pull off strategically. He then gives a signal to his player on the field that there is no need to focus on Gary anymore, because as long as they stick to their marking assignments and defensive responsibilities, they will not be caught off guard by anything unexpected. Peterson then steps up to take the team's final corner kick of the match, and he quickly shoots the ball towards Gary, who is waiting in position. At the same time, in a different location, Mahjong wakes up in the hospital bed and asks Emma in confusion where he is right now. She tells him calmly that he fainted during the match because he failed to manage his own health properly and pushed himself too hard. But Mahjong tries to take off his injection needle from his arm and says urgently that he has to get back to the match immediately. He quickly gathers his stuff and belongings, and he tells Emma not to worry about him at all, since she knows how important this match is to him and the team. However, she tells him that if he leaves now, then she is going to leave Bolton, as she can't keep working under a boss who doesn't know how to take care of himself. Mahjong thinks to himself that Emma cannot leave right now, since he already passed out from overdoing it and working too hard, and if he does not even have her to support him anymore, things will be really difficult. But still, he apologizes to her sincerely and says that he has to go back to the field and the team. Mahjong holds her tightly in his arms and says that she cannot leave Bolton and abandon them, because he cannot live without her being there with him. Hearing those words come out of his mouth, Emma starts blushing and her face turns red, and she asks him what he means by saying that to her. Mahjong tells her to stay here in the hospital and wait for him to come back safely. Back at the match that is still happening, Gary missed his attempt to hit the ball properly, and it just hits his shoulder instead, and the ball goes bouncing to another guy who is running fast to get it. Earlier during their tactical meeting, Ryan told Screech that when they get their final chance to attack in the game, he should move up from defense and join the offense to help. Back in the present, Screech enters the penalty box completely unmarked by any defenders, and he headbutts the ball powerfully. It goes inside the net to score, and with that incredible goal, Bolton wins the match against Manchester. On the other hand, Emma tells Mahjong that he does not have to go back to the stadium right now because Bolton won the match already. After that victory, due to Changa's injury that he suffered, Bolton enters the FA Cup semi-finals. Without their ace player on the field, and they lost 4-1 against Manchester Blue Moon, with their coach mobilizing the full starting lineup of his best players. Since Changa injured his hamstring during the Manchester new match that happened, he spent a full month off the team to recover and heal from the injury properly. However, this elimination from the FA Cup tournament allowed Bolton to focus entirely on the league competition instead, preserving the points they had accumulated up until then without losing any. As a result of their focused efforts, Bolton finished second place in the league standings and earned its promotion to the EFL Challenger Division, which was a huge accomplishment for the team. Ryan then barges into Mahjong's office suddenly and tells him that he will do his very best to assist the new manager who comes in, and he will work hard to maintain the team's reputation. Emma then shows Mahjong the list of companies that have made offers to acquire the club, and Mahjong is shocked to see that their value really skyrocketed after the promotion to the higher division. Emma then tries to discuss and talk about what happened between them at the hospital that day, but Mahjong does not understand what she is referring to or talking about at all. So, she decides to leave the office instead of continuing that conversation. Just then at that moment, Hee-won arrives at the office and walks in, and Mahjong asks him why everyone is acting like he is going to leave the office and the club soon. Hee-won tells him in response that last season Mahjong was openly talking about leaving around this exact time, and now that the team has been promoted to a higher division, so it is natural for people to assume that he will withdraw and leave the club now. Mahjong tells Hee-won that he is not going anywhere at all because he has built this team from the ground up with his own hands and effort. Shortly after, in Bolton's meeting room, Kian and the other players enter the room with celebration and excitement about Mahjong leaving the club. However, Mahjong tells them clearly that he is not leaving at all, which makes them furious and angry about being misled and getting their hopes up. So, they just tie him up with rope and leave him hanging upside down from the ceiling as punishment. Emma then enters the room and sees the situation, and she asks him why he did not mention anything earlier to anyone, since everyone was so upset and emotional about him leaving. She says that she is here to untie him and help him down, but before she does that, she has to talk about what happened at the hospital that day. Emma asks him directly why he did not say anything after he said that he cannot live without her, but he remains quiet and does not respond to her question. So, she unties him from the rope and he comes down, and she gets closer to him physically. At that exact moment, another girl enters the room suddenly and takes a picture of them together in that position. Mahjong runs after her to stop her and get the phone, but before he could catch her and take it away, the girl tries to announce it to everyone in the building. However, Hee-won stops her just in time before she can tell anyone and gives Mahjong a note, so that he can give a speech to everyone. Mahjong then tells everyone that he is not going to leave the club and that they should celebrate Bolton being #1 club out there. Later that night, Mahjong finally gets together with Emma because it's something important for him, as he has been a loner his entire life. How long do you think it will take for Bolton to reach the Premier League? Comment tactics if you'd like a part 3 of the series. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more sports manhwa content.